After years of shutdowns and cutbacks, workers are back on the job, and we are once again pouring new American steel into the spine of our country. We are a nation of builders, makers, and creators. In the furnaces of our factories, we forge American prosperity, power, and prestige. We all share the same home. We all salute the same great American flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. I will never stop fighting for you because I know that you are the ones that are rebuilding our nation. You are the ones reclaiming our dreams. And yes, you are the ones who are making America great again. America is back.
From the Smith Radio Studios, it's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smith Radio. You can tweet at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Wow, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith.
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking news of last week, wrapping everything up that we possibly could wrap up, giving you the facts about the matter, exposing the socialist attempt to take over capitalism, explaining to you what capitalism really is all about and the greatness of it. You just heard that clip right there by Donald Trump. Today's first hour of the show is going to be nothing but absolute, positive, riveting, factual information about what's happened to America in the last 2 years, the transformation that Donald Trump has been able to accomplish. And I think we're at like 560 days, just a little over a year and a half. Donald Trump taking the reins of this ship and steering it and trying to right the ship, get it going in the right direction. I've got a lot of incredible clips of commentators around the horn, everybody from Greg Gutfeld to Jesse Waters and the likes, explaining what really has happened this week. The GDP numbers are out. We're going to juxtapose that with the socialist communist takeover of the Democrat Party, exposing the new Democrat Party for who they are, and the Democrats that are elected officials in red states that Donald Trump won, are in deep doo-doo right now because they're not supporting or towing their party line and going full board insanity with the socialism. So we've got that. We've got all kinds of great news. I've got a ton of clips for the show today, so we're going to get into it pretty early and pretty quick. But before we start, I want to give a shout out to every single individual that made the decision here in Cincinnati, on the west side of Cincinnati.
And sometimes outside of Cincinnati.
Yes, we've got people traveling for over an hour away.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
An hour? Okay.
Our inside confidant during the campaign that was on the show, we had to use an alias.
Okay.
And she broke it down how easy it was to falsify your voter registration here in Ohio.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's going to be there.
Awesome.
She's over a little over an hour out. We also have a new Patreon who's about an hour and 15 out, she says, and she'll be coming down for the movie as well. Death of a Nation by Dinesh D'Souza. Very excited about this, and I emailed every single one of y'all. So if you didn't get the email, check your spam. I emailed everybody the time and the place of the location of the dinner date beforehand. One of our Patreons asked me who's paying for it, and I looked at her. I said, you buy your own dinner. What do you mean who's paying for it?
Wow.
I'm not going to throw her name out there. I'm going to let that one slide, and it's all good.
Did you just throw somebody under the bus?
I did. And she's close to us. It's all
okay.
Good.
All right.
Tongue-in-cheek, folks.
Wow.
Tongue-in-cheek.
I mean, we could have done a fundraiser, I guess.
Could have.
We didn't have much time. It was kind of like Brian kind of brought up this idea that maybe we could host a premiere of a movie. And I was like, well, when does it come out? Like officially in all theaters? or
August 3rd?
And I was like, we got like 2 weeks. This ain't happening. And guess what? We made this happen.
81 tickets. Now, folks, if you've never been to this theater on the west side of Cincinnati, they're electric recliner seats. They're huge. They're big, fluffy, pleather, probably the fake leather, but the big fluffy recliner seats, it's all out in style. You're absolutely going to enjoy this. So beforehand, we're going to meet up at 5 o'clock for a dinner. Now, I emailed everybody and I said, let me know if you're coming. And within an hour, I had a handful of people email me right back, and I'm really excited. This morning, I checked my phone again. We've got a party of 30 at this restaurant. And so I called the lady. I told her last night or Saturday night. I said, we got a party of 15. I called her today. I said, we got a party of 30.
So it's all going to be seated at once?
The phone went silent. I said,
for a long time?
I said, hello? Hello? Are you there? And she's like, oh, my.
We should have. Oh, you remember when we went to Georgia?
She had an answer, though. I'll give you the answer.
When we went to Georgia, we had a pre-party that was the day before. And you needed to let this person know a long time ahead of time so that they could get proper accommodations. Right. And we ended up with like 30 or something like that, which was a pretty decent size. And they had this whole side of the restaurant kind of cordoned off for us. And it worked out perfectly. We had just enough room and we had a little bit of privacy. We ended up getting scolded because of the speeches. Brian started with the speech, and it was great.
I did all right.
Everything was fine. Nobody had any problems. And there was cheering and clapping after the speech was over. So then somebody else gets up and starts doing their speech, and it got interrupted because of the cheering and clapping by the staff. They were like, sir, you're going to need to
we can't have all this clapping.
Yeah, you're really upsetting the patrons in the other room. It was really awkward. But anyway, so the point being, if we have more time, we have a whole different
and there will no speeches, no nothing like that. But if you want to dine, have dinner with us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock before the movie, we'll be hanging out. You check your email, check your spam mail if you didn't get the email, and just reply back. I'm in. So the lady said, "Well, I guess we'll have to put you. We'll have you in the patio." Oh, so apparently we're going to have the whole patio.
Okay, everybody dress
I know.
Dress casual because if it's on the patio, we're going to be sweating.
Don't be come on, man. Don't do that.
All right. We'll be fine.
So negative, man.
We'll be fine.
What's the weather going to be like?
Rainy. Just kidding.
We're going to be on the patio. Or they're going to have a section cordoned off for us, and they'll have us taking care of folks. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to meet a lot of the folks that I apologize for names. I don't know names. There's a lot of people that are brand new. I've never heard of them before. I don't know your names. I'm excited about meeting each and every one of you, and I'm really excited about hanging out with friends and pals to see Dinesh D'Souza's newest movie, Death of a Nation. Abraham Lincoln saved America for the first time. Can Donald Trump save America a second time? And something that I'm going to be absolutely completely honest with you folks. I did not know this fact, that Abraham Lincoln was the very, very first Republican elected as president at the same time that the Republican Party won over the House and the Senate. And because we had total control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, was the only way we could abolish slavery.
So we needed more than just Abraham Lincoln getting elected.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the fracturing of the country because the Democrats wanted to hold on to their slaves come hell or high water.
Yeah.
And to this day, so Dinesh juxtaposed that situation with this situation today. Can Trump heal the nation? Can it bring it back? And I say yes, because of technology, because of our economy, because of the world economy, because of who we are on the world stage, which back in that day, actually probably in the 1890s, back in the 1890s.
1860s?
I think it was Mark Twain who coined America's political apathy around the world. It was the Gilded Age. He coined it the Gilded Age. Political apathy. We didn't care about anyone around the world, and we just kept to ourselves in isolationism. So this is a whole nother era, a whole new world, and I honestly, just my personal opinion, just some of the things I've seen, some of the things that I know, I think we're in good hands, if you will. However, embrace the moment. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Every day, thank the Lord that Trump is president. And if you saw Hillary Clinton in that moo-moo thing last show.
What was that? I thought it was pajamas. Or nightgown, maybe? Nightgown, probably? I would say nightgown.
Yeah. Somebody put that picture. I think it might have been Pasovic tweeted it out. That picture versus Melania Trump and said, thank God Trump
Hold on.
won.
That's apples and oranges. Melania Trump would be equivalent to Bill Clinton because he would be the first gentleman. And she's the first lady.
Right. Well, but they might. Yeah, okay. But anyways, it's still apples and oranges.
She should be compared to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is a very professional and very regal-looking person. He's not dressed in shorts and a T-shirt.
No,
or a nightgown.
And you don't see him putting his feet up on the desk in the Oval Office. That irritated me so much to see Obama and Bill Clinton. I don't know if Bush ever did it, but I know Obama and Bill Clinton both did it, thinking that they were too cool for school.
Yeah, it's kind of like, we made it, man. You don't deserve it, but we made it, man.
Pinnacle, man. You can pass it around.
Now we can relax, put our feet up, and be like, yeah.
Obama passes it over and says, hey, Bill, this time you got it in hell. Oh, poor
Bill said audio's good because I'm like tripping out over here.
Are we good? Okay. All right. Awesome sauce.
I don't know. I can't get it right. Every once in a while, the audio be good, and then all of a sudden it goes out of whack. But all right, we're good.
Okay. So what was in my personal opinion, what was one of the biggest things? We had Mike Pompeo. We had North Korea. We had the remains of North Korean American troops during the North Korean conflict. Come back home. We had Cohen and the secret tape. And I was telling you about throwing that out there. Democrats in red states under huge pressure for Kavanaugh. We got the Russia. I mean, Mike Pompeo just smacking the
that was an awesome smackdown. If you have any audio of that, you guys are in for a treat.
I've got one, and it's really one of the best ones I thought, and it's the shortest because this thing was hours and hours long. But this was just, if you want to see the obstruction, if you want to see why they're desperately holding on to Russia, Mike Pompeo just smacked this fool around. And it's pretty awesome to see. Sarah Sanders talked about pulling the security clearance from Brennan, Comey,
Absolutely. Clapper,
Hayden, Rice, McCabe. How any of them are still green lit for security clearance is beyond me.
Our system's broken. When that becomes a debate as to whether or not those who are out of the system, they're done, they're retired, they're fired, or whatever it may be, can still have their security. I never heard of such a thing. I had no idea stuff like that was going on. When I was in the military, there were some people that had different levels of security clearance.
Right.
And when they were done, that was no longer something that they had. This was not a controversy.
When they sign, you sit down one of your last days in the military, you sit down and you sign the document, and they read through it and they go over it and they say, for the next 50 years, we will be allowed to go back to you if we deem anything during your term to be investigatable or whatever. Mm-hmm. We think in the last 4 years that you were here, if in the next 50 years we find something we want to come back on you on,
right?
We can.
And you know that going in. This is not something that's sprung up on you right as you're retiring.
No.
This is something that's like, all right, we're about to give you a secret security. You're brand new here.
Right.
This is what you need to know. And this stuff is all wide open so that you know. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing that I know that my behavior for the next 4 years is subject to review for the next 50. I think that's great.
Right. No problem. So I signed off, and that was it, and I was done, and you leave. Well, when I left, I walked off the base. I can't go back on the flight line. I could not go back into the base and walk out on the flight line into the hangar and start rummaging through the TCTOs. They're the manuals for the aircraft, for the F-16. It was illegal when 24 hours earlier I could, with no problem. So we've got a major breakdown in the system when that's debate. And now we've got an article that came out by Breitbart News, which is phenomenal. They use NBC polls. The title of the article, Blue Wave Crash. Oh, I'm so excited about this. We're going to get into that blue wave crash. And then this is going to be enjoyable. I'll remind myself to play this. When we're talking about Donald Trump and the economy, we're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about the tariffs. And we're also going to talk about the insanity that is called socialism, the bus that leads to Commie-town.
Yeah. That's our analogy, by the way.
Alexander Ocasio-Cortez.
She jumped on the bus.
Oh, Lord. She's complete indoctrination.
She's like, we're almost to the destination, and everybody needs to jump on this thing.
You get your seatbelts off. We're here. We're here.
No, we're not.
So Allie Beth Stuckey from, is it Right Side Broadcasting?
That's the one.
No, CRTV. I think she's with CRTV, which is Mark Levin.
Okay.
But anyway, she did it was a real good attempt, and it was hysterical. But it's not high dollar money kind of thing. It's something that you could do with a Mac, not a PC. And sorry about that PC. Our relationship has been severed.
Yeah.
The divorce happened decades ago.
Yeah.
So I just had to kick you out the house.
It's kind of like your Windows Mobile.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. That one was DOA.
Yes, definitely DOA. So Allie Beth Stuckey did one of those between the ferns, to where the camera focuses on her, and she asks a question as if she's interviewing Ocasio-Cortez.
Hold on, that's not a Between the Ferns, because Between the Ferns was an actual real interview that politicians would jokingly play along with because it was so cool. You're talking about the original, and I don't know who originally came up with it, but it was perfected by Jon Stewart of The Daily Show.
Okay.
Where you would see the interview, they made the interview look so legit because they would make it look like they were sitting face to face, and they would show the different scenes back and forth, but it was completely fake. The questions asked and the answers given were chopped up to make it look ridiculous.
Right, and it was Jon Stewart asking his question and then playing George Bush giving an answer to a different question, but it was hysterical because it's comedy gold, folks, comedy gold. Yeah. So she did this with Ocasio-Cortez, and it went viral. It went so viral that she was interviewed by Sean Hannity.
You know why it went viral and why it triggered so many leftists? Do you have it? Do you have the clips?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we'll get to it. But here, I just want to preface this. She tried too hard to make it look like it might have been a real interview. And it did trick a lot of people. When you watch The Daily Show and you hear some of the questions.
I got to disagree with you. Because she was.
I'm not criticizing. I think it was great. The problem is it was actually believable, which is why it triggered so many people. I'm talking about the left. Why we loved it. You fell for it too?
When I played it, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great," and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get what you're doing."
Believable.
And it's funny.
It's believable. Now, when you have Jon Stewart interviewing Dick Cheney or something like that, and some of the questions were not only ridiculous but sometimes completely insulting. And you just know that somebody like a Dick Cheney, I'm just throwing that name out there. I don't even know if they did this to Dick Cheney, but whoever, they wouldn't accept such an outrageous question or a premise or something like that. And so you're watching, you just have to laugh at the silliness of the whole thing. But in this particular case, they really tried to make it look real, and they succeeded.
Oh, yeah. They succeeded so well that, like I said, she was on Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity interviewed her. She had fun with it. She also tweeted out, she retweeted her own tweet, retweeting out that, and I'll get to that later, but she was retweeting out that this ain't going to stop. I ain't taking it down.
And not only that, but I hope she does more of them.
Yes, she has promised more. We're also going to get and you know, not that this story is dead, but the immigration thing kind of reared its head up again a little bit, and we're going to talk about that as well as the Facebook dump. When I say the Facebook dump, Facebook tanking and Twitter tanking, and why?
Oh, I didn't know Twitter was. It was big news about Facebook.
Yeah, and why? Facebook is throwing all in on illegals. They want illegals. We'll get in that story. Trump blasting them and the globalist. Trump then Trump kills two birds with one stone. He destroys Nancy Pelosi and her comment about 9/11 being an incident.
Ooh.
And destroys the Democrat Party supporting the abolishment of ICE. He kills two birds with one stone in like a minute and 30 seconds. He is the master of destroying these for lack of better words, lunatics.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Yeah, Zuckerberg, massive problems. And so we're going to jump right into it, folks. The biggest story that really needs to be talked about is the economy. We've been talking about it for the last year. We've been talking about 2018 is the reaping of the fruits of our labor from 2016, 2017. The harvest is in 2018. The GDP was expected somewhere, some people were talking anywhere from GDP growth from 3.5% to possibly 4.6. And the ones that were saying 4.6, I pulled back. I scoped on Thursday and I said I would be thrilled if it's 3%. Excuse me,
okay.
sorry.
Might need to do like my mom and start patting them on the back.
Right. And so just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up, for those of you who say, well, 3%, what do these numbers really mean? Just to kind of give you a heads up, the GDP, gross domestic product, the GDP growth under Obama, it was acceptable and exciting from his administration. It was acceptable for 0.5%. 0.7%, 1.5%. And that's anemic. You're just barely squeaking along. You're barely just kind of getting by it's negative.
Hovering because of the fact that you got inflation and that kind of thing. So It's definitely hovering to say the best.
Right. So when Obama, and don't get me wrong, some people have said Obama never got 4%. There was one month where he hit 5%. There was one month that somebody put out there. I'll give it. Obama had a couple of months, no doubt about it. But Obama never had 1 year of average GDP growth of 3%.
That's pretty sad.
And Donald Trump
8 years.
And Donald Trump is on track to nailing that right now.
8 years we had Obama, and I mean they call it the Great Recession and blah blah blah. I mean. It's just because of the way our world is today that it was not a Great Depression too. I mean, when you think about it, none of us are old enough to have known or lived through the Depression that I know of. Maybe I don't know how many extremely old people listen to the program, but
I don't know if they'd be around.
People
right now.
were like really, really hungry, starving, and wondering every day where their next nourishment was going to come from and whether or not they were going to even survive famine, and this was in America,
They also treated it like a disease. People who had money and had money in savings had a job and were able to get by, and they weren't going to die. They still had money. They keep going, pay their bills and whatnot. They treated poverty as a disease. It looked away from it and didn't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
Didn't want to catch it.
These days you have all the socialism and stuff like that, and everybody's like, yeah, well, we should always have socialism. Well, the problem is it was being done with printed money. We were, the deficit skyrocketing was in large part due to the fact that we have all these social programs. Now, I'm not saying that the alternative should be that we should let people starve in the streets, but my point is that don't think that because people weren't starving in the streets that it was any less severe than what we had back in the 30s.
Right.
That's why I call it a Great Depression too.
Right, and not only that, but we're going to give you the evidence. Also, other folks, some of the clips that we're going to play for you, there is tons of evidence that it was the Obama administration that actually perpetuated the darn thing, kept it going. And something that's not in the show notes, but I'm going to throw this out there. Tesla this week, the failed Tesla motor.
Elon Musk.
It's so sad that he took Nikola Tesla's last name, who should be a household name, not Thomas Edison.
Well, doesn't
Tesla.
the Tesla estate own it? I figure you hear. Not even Thomas Edison named his company Edison Company. It's General Electric.
Right, but here's the thing: they absolutely have ruined his name because Tesla invented the electric motors that are inside Niagara Falls, inside underneath. Using the Niagara Falls, creating electricity, empowering New York.
Right. Not just New York, but the entire eastern seaboard. Like the whole, everything east of Cleveland in the northeast portion of the entire United States is powered by Tesla's invention. Actually, AC.
He invented almost everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everything, and nobody knows the name. And now all of a sudden we got Tesla who's complaining right now. They need money. They're running out of money, and they're failing.
Doesn't he own
money.
SpaceX?
Well, the problem is that he was getting hundreds of millions of dollars from Obama.
Oh,
And Obama dumped $400 million on him to build a plant to make batteries in another country. Kind of failing there on that front, and the car actually killing people.
Well, that's mainly because the navigation system operates in a way that allows you to read Harry Potter books while driving. Actually, I think he was watching it on DVD.
Okay. And got decapitated because the car could not see the truck that was in front of him. Apparently, they're saying that it was looking underneath the truck because the truck stretched across the street, the tractor trailer, and the eye looked just underneath the tractor trailer and didn't even know it was there.
Also, it was a white trailer, but it was like that glossy white finish.
Okay.
And when I don't know if it's radar or whatever, but when it hit it and reflected off of it, it interpreted it as sky.
Oops.
Yeah, so it thought, oh, I have nothing but blue sky ahead of me, and then
There's another liberal idea. I'm telling you, electric cars, that's not the way to go.
I heard that Elon Musk is a Trump supporter, though. I might be wrong about that. I'll have to look that up. Now Bezos
he might
is big-time liberal.
Well, if Elon Musk is a Trump supporter, he's doing it because he's looking for money.
Okay.
Looking for the government handout.
He's the one, Elon Musk is the one who came up with the idea, and I don't even know where he's at on this, but it has not launched yet. He wants to create a website that allows you to rate journalism based on its fake or realness.
Right.
And it'll be kind of – I don't know how he's going to do it. I know he's going to do it wrong because I've read between the lines on. No, here's what I know.
Right.
I've but read his tweets on what he's trying to do, and when I read between the lines of his actual statements, I can tell he's on the wrong track. He thinks that like a group of people, or I don't know if it's going to be like a board or if it's going to be everybody is going to just be able to rate a journalism piece based on whether it's real, fake, or somewhere in between, and he's just going down the wrong track. I've already, and some people that watch this show, I've actually been on the phone with and discussed my ideas on how to do this properly, and he's way off on the wrong track. So I've already totally experimented this thing all the way through. Not saying that I have a definitive case closed solution, because if I did, we'd be developing the website right now. But I definitely feel like I'm way closer to a real solution than what I've heard out of Elon Musk. And I even reached out on Twitter for him to contact me, and I'd discuss it with him, but haven't heard back. So
maybe one day.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're in talks with the hashtag Walk Away to attend the show next week. So make sure you stay tuned to that as well. We got some great guests coming up in the future, and we are on the list. We are officially on the list of media for interviews of Dinesh D'Souza.
Oh, cool.
I'd like to see when that plays out, and you'll be posted. So let's start this segment off. Let's flashback Sunday. Let's go back. PBS NewsHour and we'll use Barack Hussein Obama's, his own words, not taken out of context. It'll be the full 46 seconds, because that's about all I can stand, of him. And talk about Donald Trump, the economy, money, what's going on. And this was during the campaign.
And so what we have to do is to make sure that folks are trained for the jobs that are coming in now, because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Yeah, I think somebody tweeted, sorry I wasn't ready to give the proper credit for this, but somebody said, abracadabra, blah!
I did tweet out that Donald Trump has a giant magic wand.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So there you go, Mr. Obama.
What magic wand? Yeah, that's one of the poorest aging video clips I have ever seen. Did not age well, because what it does in hindsight, because I remember when that first came out, it was played by everybody as soon as he said that. And of course, everybody was speculating about how Trump might actually be able to do it, or maybe Obama's right and Trump won't be able to do it, or somewhere in between where Obama might be being a little naive and Trump has something up his sleeve that we don't know about. In hindsight, it makes Obama look like somebody that is so unqualified to be in the position that he was in after the fact. Here he is. We had him for 8 years, and we're just finding out a year and a half after he's gone that he should have never been there, and not for birth certificate reasons, not for eligibility reasons, but for qualification reasons. This guy is admitting right here in this audio clip that he has no idea what the hell he's doing.
What are you going to do? Well, you say negotiate a better deal. With who?
He doesn't even know that how it's even done.
No.
He doesn't even know that it's even possible.
Right, because he is completely brainwashed, just like the rest of them that won't listen to you. He's completely brainwashed that capitalism is a robbing, stealing shell game where, the guy with the shells try to find the ball. It's just a trick. It's a sleight of hand. It's all a joke. It's not even real. And what it is it is real. And I know if you go back to Adam Smith's book, I just lost it.
Adam Smith, I can't remember.
All right, it'll come to me. Adam Smith's book on capitalism, he talks about the free hand of capitalism and how it literally governs itself in a sense. And when he says that,
Wealth of Nations.
Yeah. And when he says that,
sometimes our brain just is in the off position.
I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about my son.
Well, there's Death of a Nation, which we're going to see tomorrow.
When my son was born, my wife had 2 names picked out, and one of them was Adam. And so she's there, the boy's born, and she wanted to go with a different one. She wanted to go with Ulysses. Yeah,
I actually work with a guy named Ulysses, and it's not too bad.
Cool. Well, we could have gone with that, a couple of the different ones, but she was there all tired and drugged out. You know how it is, like a day later.
Yeah.
And she's like, just pick it, because I had the paper in my hand. Just pick it. I said, oh, okay. His name's going to be Adam Smith.
I would have been totally cool with that.
It's kind of a play on, Adam Smith. Anyway, so when he talks about the invisible hand of capitalism that kind of governs and things just, it works well together. People work hard and get paid for their hard work, and this sense of uncontrollable growth of wealth happens for everyone. You know how they say rising tides raise all ships. when you talk about those ideas, and it's the same thing when you talk about Christianity and Jesus and God, liberals have a very, very difficult time, almost an impossible ability to wrap their head around something they cannot physically see.
Well, they're just not very smart. I mean, I hate to break it down that simply, but sometimes you don't want to overcomplicate something when you don't have to.
Yeah, in the machine shop world, when you're in machine shop 101 as a youth and you're learning about the shop, the word KISS is up on the wall. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And in my house, stupid is a bad word. So I apologize, kids, if you're listening.
Stupid is a bad word?
Oh, that's a curse word in my house.
Okay.
You can't say that. No.
My curse word in my house is can't.
Ooh, I'll absolutely adopt that.
Can't say can't. But Daddy, you just said can't. When? You said you can't say can't. Oh, well, what do you do?
I trick my kids into saying, in Spanish, the word for bathroom is caca.
Oh, you mean number 2?
Yeah. And so I tricked my kids into saying it. And I said, you just said it. Yeah, but Daddy, you made me say it. I said, you said it. I said,
Are you not allowed to say caca?
I said, what am I not allowed to say? They're like, you're not allowed to say caca, Daddy. And I said, you just said it. And they, no, you made me. Yeah.
That's how you do it.
The world of kids. That's what keeps us young. And it's my job. If they're going to torture me, it's my job to give it back.
Did you actually punish him for saying it?
No,
that's torture right there.
That would be torture.
Get in the corner. You're in timeout.
That would be awful. Anyway, so that's my whole point. It's like talking to a 4, 5, 6-year-old when you're talking to liberals that are bought and sold hook, line, and sinker. We're going to get the Ocasio-Cortez, and she's going to make your head explode. But the juxtapose from what Obama just said, to today, fast forward to today, 2.5 years later, the Fox 5, and there's a couple on there that I'm really starting to not like too much.
Just now?
No, this one right here.
Is that Perino?
Yeah, Dana Perino.
Oh, man.
She's an absolute Bush sycophant. Well, she worked for the Bush administration.
Oh, that's called Uniparty, by the way?
Yeah, she worked for the Uniparty. She was a whole in, and she still has this thing inside. But anyways, so we got Juan Williams on it. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play this clip. It's going to start out with Greg Gutfeld, just kind of – no. It's going to start out with Jesse Waters, just kind of unloading. And Dana Perino is going to talk about the jobs a little bit. And then Juan Williams gets a smackdown and a couple other things. But you're going to love the clip. So this is juxtaposed of Barack Obama from 2 years ago saying, well, you going to wave a magic wand, Donald Trump?
The economy growing by 4.1% in the second quarter. That's the fastest expansion, nearly in 4 years. I'm just so overwhelmed. The president touting the increase as sustainable and saying more good news is going to come.
We're on track to hit the highest annual average growth rate in over 13 years. We're going to go a lot higher than these numbers, and these are great numbers. When I meet the leaders of countries, the first thing they say invariably is, Mr. President, so nice to meet you. Congratulations on your economy. You're leading the entire world. America is being respected again, and America is winning again because we are finally putting America first. Everywhere we look, we are seeing the effects of the American economic miracle.
Okay, I just want to point out real quick. They're going to talk about it, but I just want to point out real quick. Did you hear the excitement in his voice? Did you hear how he throws it out there like, we're getting there, folks. Mm-hmm. We're getting there. It's getting better, and we're going to get better.
Yeah, I don't know about excitement, but certainly determination.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah.
Like, and also confidence.
Yes.
I don't think – you always know when a president or any other politician – is trying to sell you on something that they're already started. They've already been doing it, and they hope to achieve certain goals. But everybody kind of knows that they're falling short a little bit.
Right.
And they're trying to make it – they're trying to force you to believe that they are achieving their goals when they're not. And it's just so transparent, and it seems so dishonest. But you're not getting that in this audio. I mean, whatever goals he had, or that I don't know if he actually had anything that we have on record as far as that's concerned. But everybody was surprised by this number. Everybody.
Like I said, some people were anticipating a higher number.
Really?
Some people were anticipating, some folks had estimated that it might be as high.
Is it going to be revised?
Oh, it's always revised.
It is
absolutely always revised. And every single time under Obama, and this is not conjecture, I'm not making this up, I'm not trying to bash, these are facts. Every time Obama's numbers came out, they were always revised down.
And every time Republicans come out, it's always revised up or down depending on whether it's going to minimize excitement for Republicans or minimize the damage to the Democrats. Right. Every time. It's so
right. So the revisions of this may be 4.2, 4.3, whatever the case is. Things are really rip-roaring. And here's Jesse Waters. And listen, Juan Williams tries to chime in and gets smacked down.
All right, Jesse. So one of the things about this is that we had 4.1% growth back in 2014. Doug Holtz-Eakin, the former CBO guy, was on the 2 o'clock show today and said the difference this time is that the economy was growing in all the right ways. And so he does think it is quite sustainable.
Yeah, and so does the president, and that's what all his advisors had told him. I mean, the Trump economy is so good, Obama's trying to take credit for it at this point. Remember they said that Trump was going to crash the market?
Everybody laughed.
And now the economy
is this the comedy hour or the 5?
Well, I'm funny, but also right.
Wow.
But remember, they said Trump was going to crash the economy, and now it's doing well, so they want credit. You just pick one. Obama. I mean, Obama mocked President Trump for saying he could get to 4%, and now he's there, and all the naysayers are saying, oh, well, now it's not sustainable, the same people that said it wasn't possible. And he's done this through tax cuts, deregulation, and energy production. But let's just compare under Barack Obama. I think the final year under Obama, it was 1.5%.
He said the entire year, 1.5%.
Never hit annually 3% GDP, and Trump's on pace to beat that right now. And I think under Obama, they lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs over 8 years. Trump has already added nearly 4,000 manufacturing jobs. These numbers are terrific. Consumer confidence is up. Wages are up a little bit. They could be higher. 4 million jobs almost created since his inauguration. So good news all around. If he can just stay strong on the economy, focus on law and order, get these judges in, and get some trade wins before the midterms, he'll be able to get his approval rating up to the high 40s, which is going to be really important going into November.
Just real quick, the approval ratings for Donald Trump right now, because I didn't have it in the show notes, but so I don't forget. The approval ratings for Donald Trump right now have squeaked up to the highest ever.
Was it Donald Trump or Republicans in general? Because I also saw
There's two different ones.
Okay, cool. Because I did see one about Republicans, which we can talk about that too.
Right. So his just across the board, his approval rating has reached its highest ever of 45%. And you're like, well, Brian, 45. Well, you got to think about the situation we're in. We're in a hostile environment. We got a hostile media, hostile Antifa, the DNC. Everything's hostile. Everything's hate Trump all day long. You can't even talk about him in public or fear for getting beat up. He's at 45%. Okay. Now look at President Obama's rating. Same time, fall of his second year. The fall of President Obama's second year, the fall of Trump's second year. Trump's at 45. Barack Hussein Obama was at 44. I'm just saying. Now, in the party, those who are self-identified as Republican voters, Republican Party members, they polled them. And the number is 80, some are saying 88, 89%. He's garnering support from Republican voters. 9% disagree, but 89% agree. So you still have 11, 12% still out, undecided. That's huge. It's big numbers. It is the largest garnering of support by a president in his second term in recent years. Not only that, but it's higher than Abraham Lincoln. And Donald Trump he tweeted this out. It's the highest of any Republican president, with the exception, I think, of George Bush, because we're talking about 9/11.
9/11, yeah.
9/11. But other than that, the party is behind him. A lot of people, nobody's really talking about this except for Inside Ball Game folks at townhall.com, Daily Mail? No, Daily.
I don't know which one.
Anyway, Breitbart News, some of those are the people that are talking about it. Inside Ball Game folks, Donald Trump is holding his support like no other Republican president. And that's awesome. That's what's going to make the difference.
I would point out, you saw the president today and how excited he was and how he said, we can sustain this, and 4.1%, it's great, we're the envy of the world. Do you notice every time we got a glimmer of hope in the economy during the Obama years, he was never willing to say that. He always had to pedal back and say, well, it's not enough, we're not totally there. This is a president who...
She's talking about Barack Obama.
Okay.
Who recognizes the importance of the psychology of the American consumer. Confidence matters.
Yeah, but he's not building he's not building GDP growth and all this kind of stuff and building a very healthy and growing economy off of the American people's excitement and anticipation about it. It's real physical changes that you do the math, and the math figures out to the economy growing. This is a mathematical certainty. This isn't psychology. This is math.
Well, Greg Gutfeld chimed in on it right after her, and I cut that clip because it just rambled on and went too long. But his sentiment was, and I do agree with him. His sentiment is that the confidence of CEO members that Donald Trump has talked to, the confidence of CEOs that she has talked to, their level of confidence and optimism and projection based on what's going on is helping the engine to really get moving.
I feel like the initial pop of the economy right after he got elected was about confidence. It was kind of gambling on this, his implementation of his promises actually working, assuming that he would actually implement what he was promising, right? And now that a lot of the policies that he promised are implemented, are taking shape, now it's not so much of confidence that something good might happen, but more like, oh, well, it's done, so let's get going. And now it's just everybody working together ourselves. It's no longer Trump going out and saying, guys, this is real. You should trust me on this. It's going to be good. Go out there and work hard and take loans out, build businesses, and it'll all work out for you. He doesn't need to say that anymore.
No, not anymore. No,
he does not need to say that anymore.
I agree. I guess maybe, and I am defending her a little bit, but I am saying because when she talks about Barack Obama back in the day, it was always negative. It was always, America. Oh, I'm just saying. I mean, we got 1.5% growth. I'm just saying.
He would tell us that.
Back off.
We just need to realize that our role in the world just ain't going to be what it used to be, and we should just accept that.
And Donald Trump is meeting with world leaders, and world leaders are saying to him, congratulations on your economy.
Wow.
That's huge.
So we can get that's foreign collusion. We can get foreign leaders to say that about our country, but we can't even get the left-wing fake news mainstream media to admit facts.
No. Fact to a toe tag liberal is like kryptonite to Superman.
There you go.
Yeah.
How you all have been fooled.
Okay.
Clearly, this is all a distraction from scandal. He created this booming economy, this low unemployment, peace with North Korea. I always say North Carolina. And North Carolina. Trade, deregulation, judges. He's doing all this to deflect from scandal. That's what I'm saying.
That's a parody.
And I hope
CNN.
MSNBC follows that path.
He's parodying CNN because guys, you have to watch it for a while. We do it for you, or I do. I don't even know if Brian could put up with it, but I will watch hours of CNN. And while I'm watching, I don't ever let anything, I don't take it personally. I don't let them trigger me. I don't let them upset me. Because the whole time they're saying this, I'm trying to figure out the thing that makes them lie? What is it that is making what they're saying a lie?
Right.
And I'm always able to come up with something, or sometimes I'm like, I'm not sure about that, and I'll start looking up stuff, and sure enough, somebody out there debunks something they're saying. So almost every single thing they say either is based on a false premise or just an outright lie, and it is what it is.
What do you call the thing, and I don't know what the word is for it, but what do you call it when they ask a question like, Carrie, when did you stop beating your wife?
That's a false premise.
Okay.
The premise being that you did beat her at one time.
Right.
That you were beating her, and now you stopped. So tell me about what it was like stop beating your wife.
The one politician you're going to hear the clip from that comes at Mike Pompeo. So how do you feel about your president, your boss? How do you feel about him colluding with Russia?
That's a false premise. I'll tell you what, there's a couple things that you'll notice, and I always try my hardest to call it out very simply every time with simple labels like false premise. Because it really is. It's like the same thing every time. False premise is such a common tactic used by the left in media, news media, that it's good to know it and it's good to recognize it and be able to point it out right away. And I'll tell you why. I get people all the time on Twitter that will respond to a false premise tweet by trying to they don't realize they're accepting the premise. And I very gingerly, because I don't want to upset the person who's clearly on my side, who's fallen for this, I very gingerly say, hey, don't fall for the false premise. And so I point that out. So it's really good to know it and recognize it and call it out. Never accept the false premise.
So if you would ask me, so Brian, when did you stop beating your wife? And then I'd go into a tirade and a rant about how good I am to her and how our relationship is great. And that's a lot. It would never happen. And you got me all worked up about it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you may not even realize that you've accepted their premise of you beating their wife.
Right. And I might even go home and kick the dog just because they made me so upset.
Right. So, yeah.
So Donald Trump, he's making the rounds, folks. If you haven't seen some of the rallies he's been holding, Donald Trump, and he's rallying around cities that are doing really, really well in the sense of bringing back steel, bringing back coal, bringing back jobs. He's visiting these companies and these corporations. And this is steel workers in Illinois. And let me tell you, folks.
Illinois is going to be a tough one because Chicago.
Illinois is going to be impossible. Okay, I don't know how that'll ever.
How did this sit? By the way, it's not Illinois. It's Chicago. It's the greater Chicago area. That's right. The entire state of Illinois. And I know there's people outside of Chicago, way out, maybe hundreds of miles away from Chicago.
Champaign, Illinois.
That are like, hey, Carrie, I don't appreciate you calling, even lumping me in with it. You don't understand. The votes make you Chicago.
Absolutely. Just like if you live in California, Los Angeles and San Francisco combined, along with probably Sacramento.
You could be a farmer in eastern, a desert dweller in eastern California, but it doesn't matter. You are L.A. or San Francisco politically because it votes so strongly with their way. I mean, that's what you're stuck with. You are L.A. You are the West Coast. Right.
My wife's girlfriend, she moved, her husband and her children. They moved out of Los Angeles same time we left Los Angeles. Couldn't take it anymore. They bought a house and moved up to up there near Stockton, California, in between San Francisco and Sacramento. Stockton, the foreclosure capital of America, or at least California. And they bought a really nice house in a nice subdivision, nice neighborhood. Trump signs all up and down the street. You can talk about Trump, conservative values. She's like, it's like any town USA. It's you wouldn't believe it up here. So now Stockton is being hit with more liberalism. City council has voted to garner a trial program to give 1,800 people that live there, 1,800 families that live there, to give them a guaranteed $500 income for 18 months just to see how that pans out.
Guaranteed income.
You do whatever you want. You could go to liquor store. You could buy drugs. They said there's NSA, no strings attached. Do whatever you want with it.
That's always going to fail miserably because it flies in the face of everything we know about nature, I don't know what the word to use for it is. It's in the Bible. It's talked about extensively in the Bible.
At the Creation Museum, the first exhibit right after Eve bites the apple and then it forces Adam to do it by jamming it down his throat. I just joke. Jokes, man. This morning was trending hashtag why men don't listen.
Yeah. I actually think I liked and retweeted your tweet about that.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. So the very next...
You're shadow banned, so I hardly ever see Brian's tweets, by the way.
My tweets are 1, 2. I really am. We'll get
hardly ever see Brian. Anyway.
But the very next exhibit, they're toiling in the fields. So as you were saying in the Bible,
so it's not just the Bible. Like you can figure this out scientifically, and that is, and this is such an important concept. If everybody would understand this concept, so much could be explained. When I was watching America Imagine the World Without Her by Dinesh D'Souza this morning, I was thinking about the difference between entrepreneurialism and conquest.
Yes.
Which is what the world did before America came along and really developed this idea of society running off of entrepreneurial spirit instead of conquest. What it really boils down to is that we need to eat to survive. You don't eat and you die.
Yes, true. Yes.
This is the fundamental building block of philosophy. And if you ignore that, your philosophy is flawed.
Very much.
You have to eat to survive. A society needs to be able to produce enough food in order to prevent mass starvation. That is the fundamental building block of all philosophy, any philosophy. And when you ignore that, your philosophy is totally flawed. And so the idea of a guaranteed income, $500 a month right there, is ignoring the fact that if you don't work, and by the way, I glossed over that. Let me back up a little bit. In order to get that food, you have to go out and either farm or you can hunt. Sometimes hunter-gatherer societies, if you go way back to when we were hunter-gatherers, you'd have people either gathering berries from bushes and trees and whatnot. This is work. Going out and harvesting all this stuff and collecting it and hoarding it to survive over the winter or whatever. This is all work. Hunting, lots and lots of work, lots of energy to go into hunting.
Well, you start out at the very beginning of the morning. Say Carrie and I go back, 1,000 years, and Carrie and I are, here in America, which wasn't America, by the way.
And just wilderness.
Wilderness, and we wake up in the morning, our two families camping out next to each other. Carrie and I wake up in the morning, we look at each other, maybe splash some water on our face.
I sure am hungry.
And so we start out, the very first thing we do in the morning, maybe start a fire, but then we plan the hunt.
Yeah, you got to get out there.
Something.
And hopefully you bring something home. Hopefully.
Before nightfall.
Right. And so all that work goes into getting food. Farming, my gosh, you want to talk about labor. Imagine having to work the whole year in order to get all the food you can eat for the year, right? And then you also have herding.
Right.
So you have animals, you have livestock, you have farming with the plants and vegetables and all that kind of stuff. This all takes labor. You can't just plant seeds and be like, all right, see you guys in the fall. That ain't working. So anyway, the point being, and you'll see this in the an interesting Google search. Google search labor in the Bible and check out what you get. You'll end up getting passages from all kinds of different areas of the Bible that talk about just wise, quotes here and there of what labor is, how it's explained in the Bible, and all the different passages, sometimes out of context, a lot of times in context, sometimes totally explained. So the Bible has it right totally, 100%. And that is that you must go out there and work. And if you don't labor, if you do not participate in labor, you must depend on somebody who is on your behalf. And that is key. That is the key to all philosophy. So either you're working to survive or you're depending on either somebody or some group, government, whatever. And by the way, all the government does is take from those that are working and give to those that aren't working. It's basically what it boils down to. Now, for the Good Samaritan out there, social programs, if you consider it a social safety net, This would be the government taking from able-bodied people who can produce a lot with their labor and giving it to those who are incapable of producing enough with their labor, enough for them to survive. And it could be somebody that's disabled or have something wrong with them, or maybe they lost their legs, or maybe they're a paraplegic or whatever. These people are obviously going to depend on somebody else for their labor. And then you have some people like Dr. Krauthammer, the late, great Dr. Krauthammer, who was either paraplegic or quadriplegic, but he was very disabled, who was able to use his brilliant mind and intellect to sell his thoughts on Fox News in order to earn plenty for himself and his family. So it's not always – labor can sometimes come in many different forms. But the point being is that if you are talking about policy or philosophy, or policy based on a philosophy that ignores the fact of life, that you must labor to survive or depend on somebody who is doing it on your behalf, you have a flawed policy based on flawed philosophy. And so this whole idea of $500, no strings attached to anybody who lives in this district to just live off of, and then you can go and do whatever you want, whether it makes money or not, whether it produces anything that is a benefit to society. And that's really what it boils down to. Maybe I'm not going out and farming for food, or maybe I'm not hunting for food to feed an entire village or whatever. But what you are doing is contributing a good for society. And some people say, well, I'm a computer programmer. I'm not producing food. Here's the thing. We have developed the technology to produce enough food to allow for people who are not producing food to do something else that's productive to society that people who do produce food are willing to pay you with. So everybody can eat. Everybody can eat. But the thing is if you're not laboring, you are depending on somebody that is. So what do you have?
Absolutely. Well,
he's got this video ready to go.
I've talked about this before. It's called. I thought it was called Law of the Land, but it's Law of the Harvest versus the Law of the University. And I've said this a couple of weeks ago. The liberals have the mindset that you go to school and you hang out, and you have fun, you do whatever, and when the exam comes, when the test comes, then you cram that last couple of days and you jam in all the information you possibly can to pass the exam the next day. That doesn't work in real life. And a lot of the stuff that I learned in school, I've forgotten most of it. Most of the things that I have in my mind that I've learned come from me discovering new information and learning myself. Education, a Latin word, means to bring out from within. And that's truly what education really is, kind of an understanding and bringing out of knowledge. The law of the harvest, as Kerry would be an expert at that, you cannot just throw seed on the ground in the spring and show up in August, say, all right, let's do this. Or show up the first week of August and say, all right, I got some seed. Let's get some.
Yeah, timing is everything.
Let's get some food. So that's what we're dealing with here, folks. We're dealing with this this backwards ideology that they just they've been brainwashed and conditioned, and you'll see it in Ocasio-Cortez, Alexandria Cortez. You'll see it in her and how she's been absolutely
when you ask her how she's going to pay for all of her crazy programs, you realize there's just the money's not there. And really what we're talking about, money is just a marker of how much labor you did. And labor, really, when you boil it all the way down to its fundamental unit, is how much did you do to produce food? That's really what it boils down to, is food. Right. When people do, like let's say that we live back in colonial times or before, and we're in this new world of America, and we don't do any farming. We go out there and we kill deer, and we take their hide, and we use it for clothing or whatever, leather, or beaver. They were doing the beaver hides for the hats and whatever. And I would come back. I would exchange this. I would trade this for food.
Right.
So it really boils down to the fundamental building block of food.
And Andrew Carnegie, a famous not author, not ghostwriter, but inspiring of the book Napoleon Hill,
yeah.
Think and Grow Rich. Andrew Carnegie, his whole it's a statement.
He was the steel man, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was the steel man.
He said that more gold has been mined from the ideas of man than anywhere in the earth. And if you think about that for a minute, the ideas, there was a guy who came up with an idea and thought that he could sell Andrew Carnegie, have him sell his entire fortune, everything he ever built in the steel industry, and sell that. He thought that maybe I could get him to sell that. And if I do, then I'll get a percentage of the sale. That man today, who's no longer alive, but it lives on in his corporations that he founded, Charles Schwab, Schwab Investments. It was him. It was an idea he had. He got paid on an idea. So if you're creative, inventive, and capitalism is the only form of not a governmental form, the only system the only economic system out there known to man that rewards people for their ingenuity, for their inspiration, for their ideas, for their giving of themselves. And maybe, oh, you're selfish. You're giving of yourself. Yeah, that's selfish. You're giving it to get money. Well, I'm giving it because like the guys who come up or the women who come up with new prosthetic limbs. They know that if they come up with the greatest, latest, newest technology and invention, they're going to get rich. But they do it nonetheless. Talk to them for a minute, and you'll see how generous and how heart-giving they are.
It makes them feel good to be able to get somebody that's disabled like that for a loss of limb, the ability to walk again or whatever. There's I don't know if it was a commercial or some video I saw where this guy with a double amputee got to go to a father-daughter dance.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah,
yes.
That's so awesome. But it took for somebody to come up with, and this is what they were thinking. They were thinking, wouldn't that be awesome if I could get this guy with no legs to be able to go to the father-daughter dance with his daughter and have him be able to dance with his daughter at the father-daughter dance. And I'll bet you, I'm just speculating, but I'll bet you that was the inspiration for coming up with the perfect prosthetic legs to do that.
Napoleon Hill, his son was born deaf. But he told his son as a young child, he said, you'll hear again one day. You'll hear again one day. I promise you, you're going to find a way. You're going to hear again one day. And his son was actually the guinea pig that helped to spur this hearing device because of his rare disease, so that maybe in his early teens and early 20s, he was able to hear his dad's voice for the first time. That's because out of a desire to cure his own illness, but also knowing other people with this thing and how great that would be for them to have the same thing. Capitalism is the only thing in the world that rewards people for their generosity, for their goodness of nature. Capitalism in the sense of once the government gets involved, then you've got crony socialism. But in the sense of pure capitalism, unmaligned and unmolested, straight from the Bible, ideologies from the Bible, if you really do these things and you give back. When I give back to church and I see what they're doing with the money and the people that they're helping, there was a woman who was pregnant and destitute, had nowhere to go, and what didn't even belong to our church. It was someone in the community or whatever, and our church took her up and helped her out and paid for some things and did whatever they could to help her in her situation. When I see that is absolutely, it makes me emotional. I get really excited to want to even give more. And it's invisible.
Contagious.
It is. It's contagious. It's that invisible thing that happens that liberals cannot comprehend. It's an invisible thing that starts to happen that if you've ever given to your church at any length of time, God rewards you in the sense that, and he says it in the Bible, I'll give you back tenfold. You just trust me with a little bit. And there's another thing. Trust. Liberals don't have trust. They don't trust anybody. They don't trust themselves. They've got no trust and no faith in human beings or their mankind. I'm just saying, it's out there. And so you've got to have a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust, and then you've got to be able to have an open eye to see it when it comes back to you. And they don't have that. Here's the steel worker I was promising you that Donald Trump went out to see. At CNN, y'all lying. Donald Trump is filling the stadiums and people can't get in. And if you're complaining that the venues are too small, that's just the way it is. Optics, whatever, folks. CNN just so negative.
He'll be back around. I mean, he came to Cincinnati area half a dozen times, I think.
Yeah, he should be back around. Absolutely. You got to take.
I lost
take
track of how many rallies I went to.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Oh, we lost.
Work family here at Granite City Works. I thank you, Mr. President. It truly is a family here. I see the familiar faces of the people I've known for years and every day. As I grew up with most of you, went to school with most of you, are your parents. As plant manager, it was difficult laying off people and getting the calls. After the layoff, hearing about the struggles, hearing about their personal lives, hearing about the community, how it was suffering. However, the plant was able to come back thanks to all the hard work from every one of you and the dedication from every one of you. And your support, Mr. President.
No one forget that.
I look around here today and I see the smiling faces. We owe that to you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very
much. You know, Donald Trump doesn't create the jobs. The President of the United States does not create the jobs. The President of the United States is creating an environment to where jobs can be created.
And the sad part of it is you know, when you hear "Make America Great Again," implying that it was great at one time and now it no longer is, and that we're going to return to that. Really, what Donald Trump is doing is taking regulations that a long time ago were never there. You know, we were talking about a long time ago, before government even, you know, going out there and hunting for deer to bring the hide to market to trade for food. This was a time when there was no government intervention gumming up the works. Right. And it slowly kept adding more and more and more regulations until you get to the point where we cannot produce steel in this country. So what was once a great America needed to be great again, thanks to somebody like a Donald Trump coming in and hacking away at it. So when Brian talks about creating an environment that's good for, you know, steelworkers, let's say, what he's really talking about is hacking away the crap that's been put into place that made steelworking an impossible business to thrive in America.
The coal industry as well. Donald Trump said when he was running for president, said, for every one new regulation, I'm going to make them remove 2. And then all of a sudden we found out during his first year, he announced to the world, kind of something weird kind of happened here. For every one new regulation, 22 are being removed.
That's a good thing. What was the thing that we talked about a long time ago when Smith Radio was first new? We were like, you know what they should do? They should come up with a law or some sort of a regulation that requires for every single regulation or law or whatever that they sign in, every one of them, it requires one taken away. One. Yeah. You're saying 22?
22.
Oh, that is so
22
awesome.
22 to 1.
That is. If it was 2 to 1, I would have been like, this is great. But you're saying 22 to 1. That's beyond my imagination. We even talked about having some sort of a department.
Folks, this was years ago. We talked 3-4 years ago.
It's been many years. Yeah, we actually talked about a department that they should open up. A department of we had a name for it. And I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But it was a department whose sole job it is. That's all they do. Wake up in the morning, get to the office, and start going through all old laws, old regulations, old whatever that were put into place by regulators or by lawmakers, and start putting together proposals for eliminating these laws, and then have them taken off the books.
Right.
You know, whether it's an obsolete law like
hold on, how about the goofy ones? If you ever look it up, there's
folks.
A
lot of goofy laws.
There's some insane laws that say that you can't vote on a Thursday wearing a dress and a hat, or you can't walk your dog on a Saturday morning during Ramadan because they'll get your dog. No, I don't know. I just read it. I mean, just some really insane. The dumbest laws in every state. Right?
Oh, Alabama
number one.
Alabama, no stink bombs or confetti allowed. Seems like kind of a silly law. Alaska, no getting drunk in a bar.
Wow.
Arizona, no spitting in public.
Hold on.
I lived in Arizona for 3 years, people. It is there are parts of the desert in Arizona, easily, where you can see 100 miles in every single direction. You could turn 360 degrees, see 100 miles in every direction, and not be able to identify evidence of a single living thing, both animate and inanimate, such as plants. Right, Nothing. Right. So anyway, no spitting in public.
Hold on, spitting. I honestly believe that became a law because back in the day, the chewing tobacco, it was really bad. People spitting all over the place. Mm-hmm. Nowadays,
if you live in an urban area, I could totally get not wanting people spitting. Right. If you're in the desert, hundreds and hundreds of square miles of desert, come on, people. By the way, the plant and animal life would love to get that hydration.
Yeah,
they would love. They'd be like, "Yes, he spit."
Finally, we got
what I'm talking about. Arkansas, you must pronounce the state name correctly. So if you say Arkansas,
it's supposed to be Arkansas, right?
No, and you might actually get a fine for that, apparently. California, no nuclear weapons, obviously.
And they got the state painted red and yellow like a communist.
Right. Colorado, no catapulting.
That's upsetting. Well, they didn't say anything about a trebuchet.
Ooh, in Connecticut. Now this is your FDA right here. Can you imagine you're in a factory and you produce cucumbers, pickles, whatever. This one, pickles must bounce.
That's dumb.
Oh my gosh. In Delaware, strict trick-or-treating times enforced. So your kid could you might have to pick up your child in the lockup.
Right.
They're out there too late. In Florida, do you know what? This is actually good law for Florida.
Why would they put this under dumb law?
This is actually a good law, but not just because everybody would agree to it, but because it's in Florida where this is probably a problem. Right. No selling children. You can't sell children in Florida. So if you're outside of Florida, probably okay.
Oh, I could see this being real.
In Georgia.
You can say it right.
In Georgia, you can't eat fried chicken with utensils.
Yeah, no good.
Interesting.
No good.
In Hawaii, you're not allowed to have billboards. I think there's some northeastern. It was either Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, somewhere where you're not allowed to have billboards there because why? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Kroger's got you under attack, man.
Yeah, but I don't know how to get out of it. Boy, clickbait. So anyway, in Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware is no trick-or-treating, is no selling children. Georgia, Hawaii, no billboards. Here we go. In Idaho, no cannibalism. Sorry, folks.
What?
No cannibalism in Idaho.
Oh, man.
In Illinois, we were just talking about Illinois.
The crazy state of Illinois.
No fancy, and this is in quotation marks, which means this actual word was used in the law. No fancy bike riding. No fancy bike riding. So they must be talking about like Papa Wheelies, maybe. In Indiana, proper black cat etiquette on Friday the 13th. So you have to have
keep your black cat inside on the 13th. I would probably imagine that's the etiquette.
Well, etiquette, it's Friday the 13th. So you're saying that they're worried about what a black cat could do on Friday the 13th?
Yeah, you got to keep them in their cage.
Oh, I would think that to celebrate Friday the 13th, not only must black cats be out there, but you must obey things like don't let a black cat cross your path.
Yeah, and if you owned a black cat, you better have it locked up so it doesn't cross anybody's path.
I didn't read the details. But in Iowa, no faking your butter. This is definitely an FDA regulation.
So I can't believe it's not butter cannot be in the state of Iowa.
No, because that's not I don't know what they mean by that. No faking your butter. But that sounds like no misleading.
Well, look at the first line.
I can't believe it's not butter. Oh, I can't believe it's not a misdemeanor. Any person who attempts to pass off margarine, oleo, or oleomargarine as butter is guilty of a simple misdemeanor in the state of Iowa, punishable by up to 30 days in jail and a $625 fine. In Kansas, I don't know, is anybody here from Kansas? No snowballs. Do they have a lot of snow in Kansas? They may. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Kansas gets very cold, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think they would get snow, but I don't get the snowball. Illegal to throw snowballs.
Okay. In Kentucky, no dueling.
Oh, that's probably good.
Yeah, Kentucky. I didn't find this out until recently. There was a new documentary series on, but apparently Kentucky, which is where Daniel Boone settled, is like the first state outside of the original 13 states where people mass settled.
Okay.
Massively. They all went to Kentucky, and Daniel Boone was like the ringleader of that settlement. And I believe there's still colonies at the time. So this would have been right around the Revolutionary War time. And I think we're done with this.
Yeah, okay.
Because I am so done with these ads.
Okay.
Clickbait.
So now we're getting into something that we haven't talked about recently, but it's starting to become a hot topic debate. Tariffs.
Okay.
And Donald Trump's tariffs. Donald Trump saying that everybody's saying, hey, he's going to tariff war.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you people. I entered the whole tariff debate and discussion kind of ignorant. I had to try to figure out what it means and what it could lead to and what the pluses and minuses of tariffs are because, and I'll tell you why, all of your talking heads on TV and all of your authors that write fake news and your big news articles and that end up on Yahoo, AP, all this kind of stuff, your Washington Post, nobody knew what the hell they were talking about. There are financial experts and economic experts that failed to properly explain in simple terms what tariffs could possibly lead to. They couldn't even define what a trade war was.
I'd like somebody to ask Ocasio-Cortez that question.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was desperately trying to come up with and here's why nobody could come up with what it is and why it's bad or why it's good or the pluses and minuses. Sometimes you got some good and some bad, is because we really haven't been in any kind of a trade war that has altered our way of life here in America. We've been losing in trade, and like we've dealt with it.
It's like the frog in the pot of water.
Yeah, and we're in boil. We're like kind of getting close to boil.
And we just haven't jumped out. We didn't know.
And this is what we grew up with, and this is what we understand, and this is what we know.
And I hate to say this, folks, Donald Trump, he knew this.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
He knew because he was doing a lot of back and forth overseas with different businesses, and he's like, wait, so I can't do this because of this tariff, and I can do this, and wait, they can do this? Wait a minute, why can the Chinese do this in China? And when I try it in America or even outside of America, it's not working. It's because of the tariffs. So he is an expert. He has actual, tangible experience in tariffs, and he knew he's playing that 4D chess when it comes to tariffs. He knows what is going to be good for America, and that's what he's doing.
Okay, so this liberal politician, Mr. Schatz.
Yeah.
I almost slipped on that one.
Well, you don't want to slip on Schatz.
No, you don't want to slip on Schatz. You won't get in front of me either. Anyway, so Schatz is going off on and on and on and on.
Oh,
and I clipped this.
It's C-SPAN, so like I think they're required to put you to sleep.
Okay, so he goes on. I cut out the first full minute because it's incoherent, just dribble. But he's asking a question. And listen to what he's asking about tariffs and tariff war and why the whole premise of his question is, why are you messing with this now? What's wrong with you to mess with this? You're messing with China, who's communist. They could just wait you out. They ain't coming to the table.
No, they can. I've already there's a great YouTube video that I'll tell you about a little bit later about this. But yeah, go ahead.
This guy is just, he's going to blow your mind.
And I would wait us out. Because why would you stare down a non-democracy? They can incur more pain over more time than we can because we all have an obligation to our own small businesses and large businesses who are not just on the edge of having a bad year, but on the edge of shutting down or losing contracts forever. So even if you come back and it's 18 months from now and the price of soybeans are now $14 up from $8, we've lost our contract. So how do we have leverage in a situation where they have unending patience and we have almost none?
Well, I mean, that's a long question, and I'm prepared
to
give you a long answer. First of all, you say the Chinese are clever because they have a 50-year view. We should be clever and have a 2 or 3 year view. That doesn't make any sense to me. I believe that
No, I'm saying we're a democracy, and so we take a shorter-term view because we are responsible to our voters periodically.
So does that mean that democracies always lose to authoritarian governments? Does that mean the state capital
No,
does that mean...
Sir, it just means you don't pick stupid fights.
If your conclusion is that China taking over all of our technology and the future of our children is a stupid fight, then you are right. We should capitulate. My view is that's how we got where we are. So I don't think it's a stupid fight. I don't know a single person that's read this report that think it's a stupid fight to say China should not be able to come in and steal the future of American industry.
Good for him.
I'm not suggesting that we have any disagreement about our end goal. But that's like telling me, you're like a golf pro saying, make sure you hit it in the middle of the fairway. Everybody wants to hit it in the middle of the fairway. Everybody wants better trade deals. We are doing it badly right now. That's what's happening. Senator.
He just called us an amateur. He just called America amateur to the Chinese professionals.
He said, well, then you tell me what to do. And the guy said, I'm out of time. I got to go. So there was a lot said there, folks. Listen.
Oh, wow. That was Mr. Schatz is a coward. We shouldn't be getting into fights with people like China. They're going to eat our lunch. You soy boy, cowardly punk. I will punch you out. What a coward. Get off the mic. Get off of that stand. I don't know who you are, Mr. Schatz, but get out of there. You need to have nothing to do with any kind of policy that deals with my life, with Americans. You're a soy boy. You need to get off the stand.
Yeah, and this is the guy that's working for Donald Trump. This is the guy that's in the vaccines.
Wow.
And you've never heard of him. Well, maybe not never, but I've never heard of him before. There's a lot of people that, what about Mad Dog Mattis? I mean, I know he was out in the news this week, but you're not hearing about these guys in the background. Mike Pompeo, he's kind of in the limelight now, but Donald Trump is running interference for all these guys in the background. These guys are making the policies that are helping to make America great again. And this gentleman, Lighthizer, he is absolutely making it happen by saying we can no longer accept being beat down and being taken advantage of by China.
He was like,
I'm sorry.
You don't want to upset them.
Well, you know,
they do something to us, and they're going to win.
You sound like a golf pro, Kerry, and you're just telling me to hit it down the middle of the fairway. I mean, we all want to.
Everybody wants to hit it down the fairway, but we can't do that because we're American. We don't hit it down the center of the fairway. We suck.
Right. It will always suck. We'll never be golf pros, ever.
Wow, that is unbelievable. That guy should be fired immediately. If he's in a position that has a boss that's able to fire him, they need to fire him so fast. He shouldn't have even been able to be off the stand before he was fired. They should have, while he's talking, they should have handed him a little pink slip, just slide it up to him. Right. Unbelievable. These are people we should not have in charge of anything in America.
So here's 48 seconds of Donald Trump on tariffs and what's going on in our politicians and how we got here.
These politicians ran for office pledging to crack down on unfair foreign trade, only to get elected, get into office, and then do absolutely nothing except let our country get ripped off. But I'm
sorry, there's no video on this, folks.
Not like other politicians. I've never been a politician before. I only started 2.5 years ago, and I became president. How am I doing, okay? But I keep my promises, and I keep my promises to your industry, and I keep my promises to the workers of this country.
Folks, Donald Trump is doing things, I'm telling you, folks, he's doing things that I had no clue that he would be able to do in less than 600 days. I mean, all the fighting from the left, from the media, from the Democrats, all the fake news that's out there, all the propaganda that's out there, everything that's out there is so bad and so wretched. We've never seen it this bad before from the media and from the Democrats. That Donald Trump is actually able to make these things happen. Lindsey Graham now saying that definitely Donald Trump is going to get his vote on Kavanaugh before they go to recess. Before they reconvene, before the judges reconvene. I believe it's in October, so that they'll get a vote on Kavanaugh. There's over 300 appointees. I saw a tweet that Trump put out there. I think it's 300 appointees that Chuck Schumer is stalling on. Donald Trump is making America great again from the inside with half a baseball team. He's got half a team. And something else that he's doing that's phenomenal, we were worried about this back during Obama's reign of terror. That I say that so often, my daughter said, how's Trump's reign doing? I said, whoa, Trump's presidency, no rain. I had to go to anyway. I digress. So Obama's reign of terror during the 8 years he was there, our biggest fear, and we talked with your dad about this, and he actually brought this up, that Obama was haphazardly wreck loose, filling judge positions across the country to transform the entire nation.
Yeah, when I was listening to Mark Levin, this was a big issue for him because he watches that stuff. You know, there's different people that are experts in different areas that are important, but not everybody can keep track of everything. And Mark Levin was very good at keeping track of what was going on with the filling of these different judge benches across the country. And during the later parts of the Obama presidency, he was worrying me because he said it was pretty bad. He was stacking all those benches across the country.
Yeah, so flip that around. Democrats, elections have consequences. And the consequence now is that you guys no longer have the power. And Donald Trump, they're saying Donald Trump is filling more judgeships than any past presidents. He's literally loading it as fast as he possibly can because he knows these things. He knows what's real. I'm really excited about that. But nonetheless, the tariffs, putting the right people in place, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, Kim Jong-un. Now we got proof this week. He's tearing down the nuclear sites. Mm-hmm. We see it on satellite. And still, even on Fox News, Fox, you're making me mad, man. Y'all faking the news and using conjecture. Say, well, is this real or is this Maybelline?
Oh, getting back real quick, one last thing on the trade war. I just mentioned when we were just talking about a second ago that a great video is out there explaining why we will win the trade war. Exactly why. In very simple terms, perfectly explained. I tweeted it when it first came out, and if you, when the show's over or whatever, or if you're on your computer and you can open up two screens, on my Twitter feed, I just retweeted the original tweet that I made of the video that explains the China trade war and why we'll win. It's like a 10-minute video. As soon as this as soon as this show is over, definitely watch that. Mandatory viewing for sure, and it will totally get you to understand why China cannot hold its own against us, period. There's going to be a point. You know what it reminds me of? It actually reminds me of Ronald Reagan realizing that the Soviet Union cannot keep up with a nuclear arms race. And much to the horror of Democrats and moderate Republicans and the general public, Ronald Reagan decided to get into an arms race,
right?
Kind of rekindle that nuclear arms race with the Soviet Union because he figured it out. He figured out that the Soviet Union will go bankrupt. So doing so was not trying to get into war. It wasn't escalating maybe the possibility of a nuclear exchange. All it was doing was increasing the chances of an economic collapse in the Soviet Union, and that's precisely what happened, among other things. There were several things that went into it, but it was all Reagan's doing. But the reason I draw that parallel is because that's exactly what I was thinking when watching this video. It seems to me that Trump realizes that there's a weakness in China that allows for them to be completely 100% incapable of keeping up with us in a trade war. So getting into a trade war with them intentionally is going to guarantee a victory for the United States.
Absolutely.
And that's what it boils down to, but definitely watch that video. I got it retweeted on my Twitter feed.
And I retweeted it too as well, so you can find it on both places.
Awesome.
And now to juxtapose everything that's been going good with Donald Trump. By the numbers, folks, this is Don Jr. tweeted this out, a little picture of this, they'll capture this. CNNmoney. Trump promises 4% growth. Economists say no way. LA Times. If Trump thinks he can get more than 3% economic growth, he's dreaming. WSJ. Wall Street Journal. Trump 3% growth target looks out of reach. The Hill. Trump's growth projections leave economists in disbelief. And then the New York Times this week on Friday. New York Times. Why Friday's GDP number may be a size too big.
Oh, whatever. I mean, there is more risk when you go too fast, but I mean, if that's your excuse for wanting to go back to no growth,
right?
Yeah, that's just...
Sorry. So the unemployment rate's fallen to 18-year low, 3.8%, which is basically pretty much just zero. Anybody who wants a job can get a job. Increased oil prices also spurred investment in energy industry and healthier international markets, further helped the manufacturing sector. The expectations of a narrowing trade deficit were spot on. The expectations of a narrowing trade deficit were spot on, with net exports adding 1 percentage point to the GDP. Consumer spending rising 4% annual rate. That accounts for 66% of the nation's economy, by the way, folks. So Donald Trump tweeted out, our country's doing great, best financial numbers on the planet. Great to have USA winning again. Also tweeted out again, as the trade deals come in one by one, we're going to go a lot higher than these numbers. And these numbers, these are great numbers.
You know, we're not just dealing with the world as a whole. We're dealing with these countries individually that have their own leaders, presidents, dictators, whatever you want to call them, whatever they are, depending on which country you're talking about. They're not – it's not – there's this fallacy amongst Democrats in America that the world thinks homogeneously against America, that as long as they can beat America, they're in great shape. Right. But that's a fallacy. The truth is that they're one country of many, many countries around the world, and they're competing against everybody. And everybody knows they're not going to be able to be the big dog. They're not going to be able to beat America and be greater than America and be the greatest. But if they can be greater or have a better deal than a whole bunch of other countries, that's going to make them in a better position than otherwise. So there's like this mad dash to get to the White House and get the best deal with Trump before it's too late.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. Not only that, but I know people are poo-pooing and really upset at the notion that Trump dumped the $12 million, the money on the farmers to curb.
Oh, they're saying that it's welfare for the farmers or whatever.
Tactically, it is a little bit.
Bailout.
It is a little bit, but Donald Trump has ripped the Band-Aid off, folks, and now there's some bleeding. Okay. The wound is not healed.
And that's how it always works. There's always going to be some bleeding, and that's factored in. See, it's important when you're a communist that when you implement your communist ideology, that you do it in a way that makes it impossible to get rid of. And when you do actually get rid of it, there's going to be some bleeding. I'll give you a perfect example. What's the third rail of politics? Social Security. You can't even bring it up. You remember all the debates? Don't bring up Social Security.
The third rail.
No. You do not touch that third rail. Well, it's a communist program. It's like a mini communism for elderly people or retirees or whatever. And the thing is if you were to just abolish it, in the long run, we'd be better off for it, especially considering 401ks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you put, we're allowed to put all that in a savings account of sorts.
Right. And also because of the fact that the U.S. government has totally raided the Social Security coffers to where it's just basically IOUs. It's a big lockbox full of IOUs is what Social Security is. Because of that, the United States government also bleeds a little bit if you abolish it because they lose all that. Like they literally would have to refund the Social Security coffers, right, in order to pay out the people who paid into it all these years, right? You don't just so there's going to be a double loss there, right? So that's the bleeding that you're talking about. There's gonna be blood when you get rid of these social programs. But the thing that you got to realize, and Trump realized this, is we're gonna get some
short
blood.
up. We got to short up a little. Got to get the tourniquet.
Just get the tourniquet on, save the patient, and then
you might lose the arm, but we're
no,
going to save it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But we got people that can that build the.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we got entrepreneurs that do the prosthetics.
So, and real quick, there's a friend of mine from work that one of the security guards. He was retired and in his 60s that just passed away last week. Was laying on the couch. I had a heart attack and died. Had no idea. His Social Security. His wife will never see a dime. That's it. So it's gone. His family will never see a dime of that. My mom has a friend that's well off. He's wealthy. Lives on the east side of town. When his wife died at a young age, all that Social Security she paid in all her life, gone.
Because he's well-to-do. Is that why?
No. The government. The average black American dies early. Male black American dies at a younger age. Due to health and things like that, and the government knows it, and they never collect the majority of black men never ever collect Social Security because they die before it comes in.
Wow, it seems almost racist.
It is very racist because where does the money go?
You
paid into that money all your life, and you don't. Your wife don't get it. Your kids don't get it.
There's something really wrong.
And the government gets it,
and you paid into that. That's why 401ks is the only way to go. Or if you're self-employed and you want to get into something like that, you can do the IRAs, and this stuff doesn't even depend on you working for some big corporation or anything like that. You just put into IRAs, which is all private.
Right. So here's the video of Allie Beth Stuckey interviewing What's her first name?
Interviewing. It wasn't real, but they definitely did. Cortez.
Elizabeth.
Ocasio.
Alexandria.
Alexandria
Ocasio-Cortez, the CRTV interview, which will blow your mind.
Alexandria, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you have any experience that qualifies you for this job?
I was growing up during the Clinton era. And then basically when I was in middle school, 9/11 happened.
Do you have any knowledge whatsoever about how our political system works?
She shook her head no.
Does that make you a little bit nervous?
She shook her head yes.
Okay, this is obviously.
Put socialism into your own words.
Unprecedented concentration of wealth at the very tippy top of the 1%.
That's
wow,
true.
I'm kind of surprised to hear you admit that. It sounds like what's going on in socialist Venezuela. What do you think about what's going on in Venezuela?
Just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition. And to me, it would just be completely unacceptable if that happened on our shores.
Well, couldn't that happen here if we adopted socialism?
It's hard to say what direction that takes. I am not the expert on geopolitics.
Didn't you major in international relations in college?
She has a master's degree.
Eastern politics is not exactly what's at my kitchen table every night.
Venezuela is not in the Middle East.
I may not use the right words.
How do you respond to the people who say that socialism has never worked?
Capitalism was the most efficient and best economy, perhaps.
Abject poverty is at the lowest level it's ever been because of capitalism.
Well, I think the numbers that you just talked about is part of the problem.
I don't understand.
Oh,
So what do you hope to accomplish when you're in Congress?
This is a really good question.
So what is it?
I just think that that's the wrong question.
Okay. So why should voters vote for you?
You vote. It's democratic.
That's a good one.
Well, this has been enlightening. Thank you so much for coming on.
So that's the first time I actually saw from beginning to end the whole original clip. Everything I saw up until right now were excerpts of it. And yeah, I think it was pretty obviously not real. Anybody fell for that?
No, yeah. Well, not only that, but when it juxtaposed, when it cut back to her, you could see the dress was a different color than what she had on. You could see the background was a little bit close but different.
And I can really hear well with the headphones on, better than you would just hear like on a cell phone or something like that. And you may not be able to hear it yourself, but to me, listening to it, it was clear that there were different microphones.
Oh, different audio boards.
You could hear almost like a cut. You could hear the cuts.
Right.
So, yeah, it seemed pretty obvious to me.
So here's the thing that and the reason why she did this is because Ocasio-Cortez did she's been doing many interviews, and the real Alexandria is coming out in her. The lack of experience, the lack of knowledge, the lack of she's 28.
And I'm going to be honest with you.
28 years old. I'm not mad. I'm not
when
hating on her.
When I was 28, I would have been hung up on a lot of things.
Oh, if you'd have put me on the chair at 28 here, and we weren't talking about hanging out at college at the bars or something, I don't know.
Well,
I just got
a matter
out
of time.
I just got out of the military.
It's a matter of time before finally they ask a question where you're just like, well, we didn't talk about this stuff at the dinner table every morning.
Right.
What do you read?
However, I will say this, though. If you caught Donald Trump at 28, if you caught Donald Trump at 28, he did talk about this at the dinner table. He was raised in this.
But he's nowhere near what he is today. He would have been nowhere near.
He's 72.
Right. So
I'm just
many years
I'm comparing 28 to 28.
Oh, he would have been better. He would have been better than us at 28 than when we were at 28.
I'm just saying her. I mean, he would absolutely would have been able to articulate
my point
business,
about her,
capitalism, government.
I'm defending her because she's 28, but also attacking the fact that you don't make somebody a congresswoman. We're talking about a U.S. congresswoman.
But she ran for it.
When she was 28.
But there ain't no age limit on that.
Okay, so let's say.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there is an age limit, but she's 28. She's allowed to do that.
Right, she's allowed. There's nothing illegal about it. Okay, so Thomas Jefferson was 35 years old when he wrote the Declaration. That's rough, because when I was 35, I'd have been like, screw you guys.
Yeah, I'm going home.
Dear King George.
Go to hell. Go to hell.
Send.
And because it's across the pond, you actually got to press the send button harder to get it to go there.
You got to really tap it. Yeah. I'm just saying. Did you see that commercial where the guy was tweeting or something, and they had the powdered wigs on, and they were like, the British are coming. And
that is funny. No.
Yeah, that was, oh, man, I'm sorry I don't have it queued up. But anyway, yeah, so there's definitely different people that, we're friends with people that we retweet all the time that are in their late 20s that are pretty impressive politically. They're still going to have some level of naivety.
I take it back.
What?
30 to be senator and 25.
So she's barely old enough to be.
For those of you in South Central, that was for you. Barely.
What's the correct word? Because I always get that wrong.
No, they use barely. I barely got here.
Oh, because you made fun
of me. I'm barely late. You barely opened your account.
Right. See, but do I not use it correctly, or do I?
No, I just every time the word barely comes out.
Yeah, because you've made fun of me for using barely, and it made me question whether or not I'm using it properly.
Yeah, don't use barely.
I barely use it.
I barely use it. I barely.
Anyway, hardly. I hardly
25. Yeah,
she's hardly old enough.
Hardly ever.
Okay.
No, I would say barely. She's just scraped by. She definitely just scraped right in.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get my daughter started early, so that way 25, right at she's going for U.S. Senate. Wait, no, that's 30.
Oh, Senate's 30. So she starts
30.
out as a representative at 25.
Okay, all right.
She can slip in there and take over for
At Senate?
who was Congress? What was that? Here.
Shabbat?
Yeah, take over for Shabbat.
Wow. Sorry about that, Shabbat.
Sorry, buddy.
Name recognition, buddy.
Hey, I will say
Name
this, man.
recognition.
People here in Cincinnati, they've been running ads blasting Shabbat.
That's the
Democrats,
first anti-Shabbat commercials I think I've ever seen.
Democrats are saying Shabbat doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. He doesn't listen. Folks, he showed up at our town hall meetings.
Oh yeah, he shows up. He talks.
And he talked. He stayed there. He stayed there for a long time.
When Jim Renacci was running for governor, he showed up to endorse Jim Renacci.
Oh, and speaking about that, I don't know if I've said this, but I'm going to say it again in case I don't get to it. Anybody out there right now running for the Senate, running for Congress, running for governor, I don't care if you're running for local council member, whatever. You hit your wagon to Trump, you just damn well might win.
Okay.
We've got people that are just 12 points, just bump 12 points up past the Democrat because they hitched their wagon to Trump.
I don't know if I actually said this, but I wanted to. When Trump first was elected, and there were several months that went by, and I realized that nothing was getting done, and nothing was going to get done because of the massive amounts of obstruction, particularly coming from Congress, which are elected officials, and they are people that are going to go out and have to campaign and get people to vote for them, sometimes every 2 years, sometimes every 6 years, whatever. And so I decided, man, you know what I would advise Trump? If he gets to a point where nothing has gotten done, and it was getting really close to that, I'd be like, all right, y'all don't want me to do what I'm doing because you're stopping me? That's all right. I'm leaving the White House, not leaving the presidency. I'm still going to be president. I'm not going to do anything else but go city to city campaigning for people who are running for your offices against you, who are willing to get done what I'm trying to get done. That's it. I'm doing 5 a day.
And
5 a day.
And he's not doing 5 a day now, but honestly, he is going around the country pitching for, and the guy I was talking about was Ron DeSantis, is now 12 points up on the Democrat.
Sweet.
And if the polls are correct, he's up higher. I mean, incorrect, that is. But no. And Ron DeSantis, definitely a champion for Trump. Been there for Trump. Trump there for him. Gates, G-A-T-E-Z, Gates.
Matt
Gates.
Yeah.
Hooked the wagon to Trump. He's doing really well. A lot of these folks are doing well.
Interesting that the Freedom Caucus people, they came out early for Trump, which is kind of surprising because you're like, you listen to people like Ben Shapiro. Trump's not a conservative. You guys should know that. He's not a conservative. Right. And if you are a conservative and you voted for him, you need to question him. I'm going to go ahead and check your conservative card because I don't think that you really are. And there's people like that have been saying that for a long time, even all the way back to the primary. But then you got the Freedom Caucus people who historically, since the Freedom Caucus started, has been considered the benchmark for conservatism. And I truly believe that. Now, some people might say, well, Kerry kind of leans a little bit more libertarian than what we've considered conservative in the past. But I disagree. I think that you can't look at somebody like a Jim Jordan and say, well, there's some people that are more conservative than that. No, I don't think so. And yet, Freedom Caucus was with Trump from day one.
And if you're looking, and we said this in the campaign, we said this again, and I will continue to say it, there is and never will be a perfect candidate for the Republican Party. It will never, ever, ever happen.
Until I run. When I run, then there you go.
Donald Trump is the closest we've ever gotten. Donald Trump, Ronald Reagan, and Calvin Coolidge. If you don't know Calvin Coolidge and Abraham Lincoln, go back and read about Calvin Coolidge. Precursor to Ronald Reagan.
Cat in Arizona seems to be a little bit concerned that some of these people that Trump might push for will end up being Flake or McCain.
Can't worry about that.
That's really what it boils down to. It's better to boot out the person. A perfect example. This actually happened in Ohio. Matt Borges was the state chairman of the GOP, the party. He was the party chairman statewide in Ohio, Matt Borges. And he was the one who was one of the ringleaders of the coup d'etat 30 days out from the election. What he was trying to do was to get everybody to take Donald Trump off of the ballot and then replace him with somebody else 30 days before the general election. And he ended up winning. And right after the election was over, literally a couple weeks after he got elected, they were doing an election for chairman of GOP in Ohio, and Matt Borges had to run against a woman named Jane Timken. And Trump went around and literally, one by one, dialed up the phone to every single voter in Ohio for that position, which was, I think, the county chair for all 81 counties.
This is President-elect. This is President-elect Trump. I just want to say, hey, how you doing?
Alex Trentafilio got a call, and he told us all about the phone call of getting Trump. Hey, make sure you vote for Jane Timken. He was like, yes, Mr. President. Or President-elect at the time. He was just President-elect at the time. And guess what? Matt Borges got booted out. Now, here's why I tell you the story. Now, Jane Timken, who is the current Ohio GOP chairwoman, is currently the never-Trumper in Ohio. She's total.
And she has no idea.
She's a moron.
She has no idea that Trump got her in.
She's got to know. If she doesn't know, she's a bigger moron than I thought. She's a moron alone just being a never-Trumper to begin with.
So we just got to work on the next one. That's all.
But the point is that it was better for Trump to do that, to send the message to a lot of people. Do you realize every one of those county chairs that got the phone call from him learned a valuable lesson that day?
Oh, yeah.
You don't mess with President Trump.
And when he says he never forgets, I'm beginning to believe that. I always thought that Rush Limbaugh had an ironclad memory like nobody's business. I'm beginning to think Donald Trump's got one. I am dead serious. Yeah. I'm really beginning to think Donald Trump. And Confucius say, man or woman, man who worries before it's time to worry, worries too much.
Yeah, just do what you got to do.
No ulcers.
He sent a very valuable message to a lot of people, like probably over 1,000 people in Ohio got important people. These are not just regular Joes. I mean, important people who hold positions in Ohio of importance got a very strong message, even though the end result was that one never-Trumper got replaced with another never-Trumper. But he made headway.
Yes.
He definitely made headway.
So real quick, here's the real interview of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the new face of the Democrat Party. This is literally the newest face of the Democrat Party, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer.
You know they're trying to Barack Obama her, right?
Yes, but she's only 28. She's got to be 35. She's got 7 years.
They're gonna look back and say, "This is it. That was it. That was it." And now you're our presidential candidate.
2020, 2024. It's gonna have to be 2028.
And even then, she's gonna be a baby. She'll be the youngest president of all time, hands down, and probably forevermore.
10 years, she'll be 38 years old. I mean, that's just not even, I don't even think that, nobody's going to take that serious. Nobody's going to take that serious.
How old will she be in 2028?
38, something. 10 years from now.
That is 10 years from now.
38. You're the math wizard.
38, yeah. She'll be old enough. She'll be there.
So we'll see how this goes.
How do you pay for all of these ideas?
So this is an excellent question, and in fact, there's a lot of back of the envelope stuff based on our values.
She's stalling.
Back of the envelope stuff based on our values.
Hold on. Brian, ask me a question.
Carrie, how are we going to pay for all this stuff?
Brian P. Smith. That is an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Did I tell you how good of a question that was, Mr. Brian P. Smith? It's stalling. She's stalling.
So, I don't know what back of the envelope values are.
That's a you know what? I'm going to look that up.
Okay. Back of the envelope values.
How do you pay for all of these ideas?
So this is an excellent question, and in fact, there's a lot of back of the envelope stuff based on our values. So, for example, I sat down with a Nobel Prize economist last week. I can't believe I can say that.
She just freaked out of it.
Weird, but one of the things that we saw is if people pay their fair share, if corporations and the ultra wealthy For example, as Warren Buffett likes to say, if he paid as much as his secretary paid, 15%, if he paid a 15% tax rate,
Just to dispel that, Warren Buffett was being taxed on his investments.
Okay. And those are lower than income taxes.
Well, I think Barack Obama actually bumped him up, and Donald Trump bumped him back down. Under Reagan just completely brought down the taxes on capital gains and things like that, which spurred more investment in the government, more investment in the economy. Get the government out of the way. Get more investment in the economy. If you raise capital gains, you raise all these taxes through the roof on people investing in the stock market, people buying and selling houses. You start doing all this, you're gonna start to choke it out and stifle it. Nobody's gonna put their money in it. Why would you?
Yeah, when you're taking too much of it away, there's a certain amount of percentage that you are trying to get back for a return on your investment, ROI. And if too much of that is eaten up by the taxes, then you're going to find another vehicle of investment.
So clue number one, she's clueless.
Corporations paid, if we reverse the tax bill, but raised our corporate tax rate to 28%, which is not even as high as it was before.
Right.
If we do those two things and also close some of those loopholes, that's $2 trillion right there. That's $2 trillion in 10 years.
Okay,
She's
got
thinking
it.
Statically anyway.
She said $2 trillion right there.
So first of all, back of the envelope calculation is a rough calculation. If you remember correctly, if you're very good with your long-term memory, if you've been around during this time, Bush talked about fuzzy math.
Oh, right.
This is literally her version of fuzzy math. So it's back of the envelope calculation is a rough calculation, typically jotted down on a available scrap piece of paper, such as an envelope. It's more of a guess, but less than accurate calculation or mathematical proof. So basically she's saying, listen, guys, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's why we're talking about. This is the back of the envelope. I just grabbed a piece of paper and started putting down numbers. Who knows? Who knows?
Somebody gave her that word, back of the envelope.
Yeah,
somebody told her, when you're in trouble,
don't use fuzzy math.
Yeah, when you're in trouble, use back of the envelope. So this next thing, she said, $2 trillion over 10 years. Whoa, she slipped into 10 years. $2 trillion over 10 years, and that's supposed to pay for health insurance for everyone? Health insurance for everyone is $30 trillion.
These are the kind of words and explanations and BS that was coming out of the mouth of all socialists. In particular, I remember the Obama administration, Obama himself talking about the administration would come out with, this is going to save us, blah, 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 over 200 years. In the next 200 years, we're going to have like $1,000. It's like, dude, what is with this timeline? You know how much is going to happen in 10 years? I mean, we're going to go through a couple of presidents before then. We could go through a world war. We could have a meteor hit us. I mean, what are we talking about here? Over 10 years, this is not instilling very much confidence.
Well, not only that, I didn't come up with this analogy. Waters did. He came up with this analogy. He said to Juan Williams, he said, Juan, buddy, it's like going to shop for a BMW and say, yes, I'll take that car. Here's $500. Okay. Juan, you can't get a BMW less than $35,000.
Okay.
You can't just say, here's $500, I want a BMW.
Well, you can say, here's $500, I want a BMW. We have $35,000 within the next 30 years. We'll have it.
That's her logic. Yes.
So it's a loan, basically.
Right.
And it's one of the wide estimates is that it's going to take $3 to $4 trillion to transition us to a 100% renewable energy economy.
Guys, what? You know what she just did there? She did what we call a non sequitur.
Okay.
A non sequitur is when you're talking about something and you throw in something that doesn't follow. There's no connection. What is she talking about?
100% renewable economy.
Energy economy. That has nothing to do with what she was just talking about. We didn't even bring up renewable energy. Literally, it's a non sequitur for her to even bring that up. And it kind of makes me wonder if right before she went on, she was overcoached.
Oh, yeah. She was going down the list of the things. Well, she's got her notes right in front of her.
She's looking down right now.
Yeah, she's got her notes right in front of her. They were making fun of her. Waters was making fun of her in front of Juan Williams. Said, yeah, I mean, you know, you got your notes in front of you, and when you look down at them, oh, that was
why is she not using the word? Why is she not using the word sustainable every other word? Because that would do it. Rush says that all the time. If you want to get through these millennials, you got to use the word sustainable all the time.
And says that it's going to take $3 to $4 trillion to transition us to a 100% renewable energy economy.
100% renewable energy economy.
That's not going to happen.
What is that, Carrie?
100% renewable. We're talking about wind and electric.
Perpetual motion?
No.
Perpetual motor?
No, we're not going to have a perpetual motion machine or anything like that. Perpetual energy.
That's what you just said. 100%.
Well, renewable energy would be like your wind power, solar power, hydroelectric, geothermal.
Why would we do that? That would be the worst.
Because we don't want to.
That would be the worst economy ever.
Well, we don't want to pollute the world and.
Yeah, but we'll all be starving, and we'd kill all the eagles and all the birds.
Well, if you know anything about Darwin, what will happen is the birds who are able to recognize the propeller of the windmill.
How fast is that moving? How fast is that moving?
We calculated.
We did
200 miles an hour. You would never realize it when you're driving down the highway and you see one of those propellers and they're going around at about this pace. Like that.
It's slow. I mean, it can seem maybe not slow, but you can see the blade.
Yeah, the blade's just going around. It's not like you're looking at a fan in a box fan window or whatever where you can't even see the blades.
But if you are sitting on the tip of the blade in a chair.
Oh, yeah, you're going 200 miles an hour. 200 miles an hour. No, I know what you're saying. It's not like you can go up to the blade and say, Luke, I am your father.
Yeah, you can't do Luke, I'm your father.
No, you can't do that. But 200 miles an hour is the tip of those blades. So yeah, if you're just an eagle flying through and you think you're okay, I can see the blade.
I got plenty of time.
I got this, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, you're chopped in half. 200 miles an hour. It's like trying to cross the straightaway of the Indianapolis 500.
I got time. They're only doing 240.
I can make this. They're way down. Look how far down the track they are. They're good to go. By the way, if you do catch yourself in that situation, if you jump 2.5 feet off the ground, you'll probably clear it.
Yeah, you'll make it.
Anyway.
So we got $2 trillion from folks paying their fair share, which they were not paying before the Trump tax bill.
Right.
She just said they weren't paying their fair share before the Trump tax bill.
Oh, so they're paying it now. I don't know. You might be reading too far into that.
Didn't Obama say that he was going to make everybody pay their fair share?
Oh, so Obama failed to do that.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get you on that. That's true. I'll give you credit on that.
They weren't paying that before the Trump tax bill. If we get people to pay their fair share, that's $2 trillion in 10 years. Now, if we implement a carbon tax on top of that, so that we can transition and financially incentivize people away from fossil fuels.
Listen to her words. Transition away from listen to her words.
Renewable energy economy.
Closely. She's getting good.
If we implement a carbon tax, that's an additional amount of a large amount of revenue that we can have.
Large amount of revenue that we can have.
Yeah.
You mean your party can have? A large amount of revenue? Who can have?
Well, the government, of course. I mean, for her, it's all about centralized, large, big, huge Leviathan.
So when she says we can have, I found that very possessive. That she's saying that we can have all this money.
She's a socialist, so yes.
Okay.
And then the last key, which is extremely, extremely important, is reprioritization. Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for. They're like, we don't want another fighter jet. They're like, don't give us another nuclear bomb. You know? They didn't even ask for it, and we gave it to them.
What about
Does
Iran?
she not sound so dumb?
Yeah, I mean, it's the
Navy has been begging for money, and I can attest to this, folks. The Air Force gets all the new money. The Navy,
because they're cool.
Yeah, And we're the latest thing, greatest thing. We've only been around since '49. I mean, everybody else been around. The Marines have been around since
the Marine Corps asked for more money, and they're like, "What do you need? More boots or something to trounce through the mud? I mean, what do you need?
Those tents look good. What's wrong with your tent?
I mean, do you need like a hut of some sort?
Plenty of guns.
Upgrade? You know, upgrade from straw to sticks to stone. I mean, what do you got? The big bad wolf huffing and puffing or something out there? I don't know what you're talking about.
So, but the Navy has always suffered. The Army, their barracks, the places that they stay in, that they live in, substandard for Air Force standards. Anyways, they really do need money. New ships, new upkeep, new maintenance. They need lots of money to maintain and upkeep the facilities, the buildings, the troops, all this stuff. And for her to say that, you don't ever say something like that about the military, having no clue.
No clue whatsoever.
Okay, so now here's the switch over. It's going to switch now to Greg Gutfeld in response.
Oh, this should be good.
I'm going to back up just a split second and let it run through.
Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for. They're like, we don't want another fighter jet.
I need a source on that.
Don't give us another nuclear bomb. You know? They didn't even ask for it, and we gave it to them.
Here's the issue. Nothing that she says pertains to wealth creation. This is always the difference between the left and the right. Her answer, her solution for any kind of monetary issue or gum disease is taxes. It's going to be taxes. But if you ask them, how do you create money? How do you create wealth? They will look at you and they will look down at their notes and there'll be nothing in those notes.
They should start asking her how to create wealth instead of how to take wealth.
Yeah.
Waters just had an epiphany. Sorry, buddy. I know what you're trying to do there, Waters, but it sounded and it came off like you just had an epiphany. That's all right, buddy. You should have just let Gutfeld just have it and roll with it. But yes, ask her how wealth is created. Ask any liberal, anybody, any of them, how is wealth created? And they don't know. They don't know.
Most people don't, which is what the real problem is. But
well, they may say wealth is created by taken from somebody else. You got to take it from somebody else, and that's what she's saying.
Well, they believe it's a zero-sum game too. They think that
the pie. There's only one pie.
There's one pie. There's a finite amount of slices of pie, and everybody should get a piece of that pie. Everybody needs it. And if you don't get your fair share of that pie, or if somebody got more than their fair share of that pie, an injustice had happened. And by the way, if somebody has a big piece of that pie, then they effectively taken it from those that should get a piece of the pie. You know, it's like you go to you go to work and they have a big cake and they slice it up into a bunch of pieces and they have to pass it out, like in that scene from Office Space where they're passing out the pieces of cake. And if you were to take two and somebody got zero, effectively you've taken it from that person.
You stole.
And they believe that that's how wealth works, and that there's that wealth exists in the form of dollars and cents, and the change, the loose change, all the coins and all the paper in the world represents all the wealth, and that anybody that has more than somebody who is struggling to get by, obviously there's something immoral about that. But that's just not how wealth, money, whatever you want to call it, works.
And earlier when I said that Andrew Carnegie's quote was, more gold has been mined from the ideas of man than from the entire earth. If you try to explain that to a toe tag liberal or to some socialist communist, hey, let me show you, let me lead you down the road to this, they're going to laugh at you and say that that's pie in the sky. That's it. You're talking about wrangle. You're talking about trickle up, trickle down economics, huh? Yeah, Trump.
They don't understand it, and they're just trying. Basically they're speaking emotionally. Right. And by the way, it would take us another 3 hours to walk through exactly where wealth comes from and how an American free market capitalist system works, particularly where the actual wealth from ideas and labor come from and where it goes. So I'm not going to get into it in this show, but honestly, I'll do a scope on it. I've actually talked to some people on the phone about it, and we may have even gone over it briefly in a different episode. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested in learning about exactly how that works, I'd be glad to do a scope on it. But anyway.
Right. No, awesome. So I mentioned to you earlier in the show about the blue wave crash. We got a blue wave crash. We've got all the things that Democrats are standing for that the majority of America is absolutely against. There was a poll taken out. Who do you think is in mainstream with America? Mainstream America, who do you think is more in the mainstream? Republicans or Democrats? Democrats, prior to this poll, a few months prior to this poll, were somewhere around 53%. Republicans were around 49%, or 47%, something like that. Now the poll was taken again here within the last week or two. That poll is now, Republicans only got a bump of a couple of points. They're like maybe 51, something like that, which is fine. Whatever. There's always going to be half of America that's going to disagree with the half of the other party.
Yeah,
right,
the Democrats.
Right. However, what's striking is that the Democrats have fallen to the 30s. They've fallen 15 to 18 points, depending on what poll you're looking at.
I'd like to say I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised they put the poll out.
Right, that's definitely surprising. But, it makes me have faith in humanity, faith in America, faith in the world, society in general, because we know, I'm not biased. If I felt like there were some problems with conservatism that would make me believe that, we don't deserve to have a vast majority, or if not unanimous, acceptance of our ideology. Right. And if I felt like there was some merit in socialism, communism, progressivism, all that crap over there, then I would say, well, you know what, they deserve some people to, everybody to each his own, if that's what kind of person you are. But I don't believe that. And so I kind of hope that the normies, you remember the normals?
Oh, yeah.
There was an article that I can't remember who wrote it. It was a long time ago. It was right after Trump was elected. And somebody said, you know what? We're the normals.
Right.
Those left-wingers are all fringe. So when you talk about which one's more mainstream, that language kind of conjures up memories of that article where they refer to Trump supporters as the normal people, and then the rest are like these fringe weirdos. I mean, screaming at the sky because Trump got elected.
Yes,
and they're just they're not normal.
It reminds me of when Kim Jong-il died.
Yeah,
and the population took to the streets because it was a shocking death. He was supposed to live forever. He was their savior. They took to the streets
because he's supernatural.
Right, wailing and screaming and banging their shoes and banging their arms against the ground in front of the huge statues that he put up of him, the big giant pictures of him, screaming and wailing. And see, that's what happens, folks, when you put your faith and trust, all of it, in another human being. You are guaranteed to feel pain at some point in time.
Right.
You got to put that, and that's why Christians have a
faith in God.
Yes,
right.
It's a completely different world, folks. So, anyways, okay, Democrat Party falling out because they're all for open borders, which people don't like. They're all for immigration, illegal immigration, which immigrants who did it legally don't like. They're saying to abolish ICE, which is pure and utter insanity. Donald Trump, then you're offending a lot of the law enforcement here in America. Mm-hmm. And so Donald Trump, this week, Nancy Pelosi made the comment that 9/11 was an incident.
Okay.
Which was very offensive to almost everybody in America.
I'm offended, yeah.
And so Donald Trump gave his, it looks like a weekly address or maybe a special address that he did. It's 3 minutes long, but you've got to hear it. He kills two birds, maybe even multiple birds in one stone, one video clip, just nails it all. I was shocked he was able to weave 9/11 and ICE and these problems the Democrats are having. He weaved it all together. So check this out.
On September 11, 2001, America suffered the worst terrorist attacks in our history. The attacks were carried out by foreign nationals who exploited our lax immigration laws and defrauded our immigration system in order to murder nearly 3,000 innocent people. Following the attacks, Congress placed most immigration enforcement functions within a new agency known as the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, meaning ICE. One of the critical lessons of 9/11 is that immigration enforcement saves lives. We must enforce the rules against visa fraud, illegal overstay, illegal entry, and other immigration violations and crimes. And crimes they are. Believe me, crimes they
Believe
are.
me.
These are the practices exploited by terrorists, drug dealers, child smugglers, human traffickers, gang members, and countless unknown and unregistered criminals to gain illicit access to our country and threaten our citizens. In fiscal year 2017 alone, ICE arrested more than 127,000 aliens charged or convicted of crimes inside of the United States. These were very serious crimes, and far too many of them. Yet leading Democrat politicians have called to abolish ICE. Nobody even believes it. They want to abolish ICE. In other words, they want open borders and more crime. And that's what you're going to get. You'll get more crime as you open up those borders. Last week, 167 Democrats in the House of Representatives refused to vote for a resolution to support the heroes of ICE. These are brave and great men and women. They're in the trenches every day, taking the fight straight to vicious gangs. They prey on our people. They hurt our people. They kill our people. Without the brave heroes of ICE, we would have no enforcement, no laws, no borders, and therefore we wouldn't even have a country. So to the courageous public servants at ICE, men and women, great ones, we want you to know that the American people are with you, and my administration has your back 100%. You are the heroes who protect the lives of our citizens, the safety of our communities, and the sovereignty of our great nation. We love you, we support you, and we always will stand with you. Thank you, and God bless America.
Okay, he just said, and this is classic Trump. Classic Trump. Nancy Pelosi says that 9/11's an incident. The Democrats are screaming to abolish ICE. The Republicans put a resolution on the floor to vote to support the heroes of ICE, and 167 Democrats refuse to even vote. Donald Trump makes a video and says, you know what, y'all, citizens, America, ICE, law enforcement across the country, I support y'all. But I just, in case you guys didn't know, which I'm going to be honest with you, I will admit it when I don't know something. I did not know this. ICE was created because of 9/11.
I did not know that either. You know, it's interesting. I didn't.
Is that not classic troll Trump?
Yeah, well,
holy smoke.
When I heard about ICE, I was like, how come we never heard about ICE in the 80s and 90s?
Well, I remember when it was, I thought they just changed the name. I was out in California when I first heard them. And I started using it whenever, somebody didn't speak English. I said, ICE? ICE? What? I know, kind of mean, but they'd stop doing what they was doing. Leave me alone.
Wow.
It's rough in South Central. It's all Hispanic. It's rough. Got to do what you got to do to stay alive.
Street smart.
Yeah.
You got to have your tool bag.
Yes.
You got to pull out, the stops.
All stops.
To survive,
Yes.
So anyway, so I didn't know about that. And it was interesting that I never really put much thought into why I'd never heard of ICE before recently. And it's because it was developed because of 9/11. Now, not everything that came from 9/11 is good. Why is it that people who are calling for the abolition of ICE have no problem with the Patriot Act, which enabled the FISA courts to do what they did? Now, FISA has been around since the 70s, which, by the way, that still doesn't justify it. But it got worse after 9/11 because basically they were allowed to do a lot more that is clearly unconstitutional, clearly against the Fourth Amendment. But everybody just was like, well, you know what? We had 3,000 people die on 9/11. They're slamming jumbo jets into skyscrapers. And you know, our founding fathers that decided that we needed these rights in order to live in a free society were not ever aware that one day we were going to have 110-story buildings with jumbo jets flying through the air with hundreds of passengers on them, be able to slam into these things and bring them down and kill tens of thousands of people all at once. They never knew. And if they knew, they wouldn't allow for us not to be able to spy on everybody and go through all their effects and just go through. Forget about privacy. We don't need privacy. We don't need rights. We need security. And that's where the problem is, because that's just a cowardly thing. And of course, even though they didn't know the intricate details of how it may manifest itself, but they did know that if you really want to be a free society, you're not going to sacrifice any liberty for security, because if you do, you deserve neither.
Right. Agreed 100%. And just to wrap up, Ocasio-Cortez, the face of the Democrat Party, during an appearance this week on In the Thick podcast, Ocasio-Cortez, this is reported by Breitbart, when speaking about abolishing ICE, the movement that got momentum after her primary win over Joe Crowley, she said, quote, "But we also have to ask ourselves the question, how much is this black box detention necessary? And you look at these facilities, we're caging women and children. We're jumping to criminalize people." The podcast then co-host interjected, kind of like ethnic cleansing. And Ocasio-Cortez said, yes, Trump's zero-tolerance policy on the spectrum of ethnic cleansing.
That's ridiculous. You know what? Here's the problem with leftists. Just when they might have a good point that they could really drive home and really hurt Republicans with or conservatives with, they jump the shark.
Yes.
They're like, I see a shark, and I just gotta jump it.
Gotta jump it.
And then they do, and you're just like, peace.
So Max,
you're done. Right. You have no argument at that point. You discredited yourself with extreme hyperbole.
So Maxine Waters tried to jump back over. Try to jump back over the shark. Maxine Waters criticized the far left's call to abolish ICE. Says the Democrat Party is not a socialist party. Criticized the calls within the Democrat Party to abolish immigration and customs enforcement Wednesday, this is middle of the week, and also clarified she's a capitalist.
Uh-oh.
Saying the Democrat socialist push represented smaller, more extreme elements of the Democrat Party. She's not a socialist. She's confused. She's an opportunist.
Okay.
She's an opportunist. She'll take the opportunity to take all the money she can when she's in power. She's not a capitalist. She does not support a single capitalist ideology. Look at her. Actions speak louder than words. Not one single thing has she done to support capitalist ideologies.
Yeah, and I guess when you are a lifelong career in politics, it makes sense that you would not only embrace socialism as the way of life for everybody, but to not even understand or even be able to envision any other way of life, because you're basically put in a position by voters. So basically you went out. Your job was to get people, convince people to vote for you. Once you've accomplished that, you just collect a check and you go around and you talk and you make some policy, and you don't really produce anything. And
you can be like Obama, didn't do anything.
That's true. That's true. But even regardless of whether you do something or not, the main thing is that you start to develop an understanding of how it is that you are able to turn this into a career, and that is, well, where does the money come from? That gets to me.
Right.
Well, it's from the taxpayers. So now you just don't even understand any other economic model than to take money from the taxpayers so that I can pay myself. Not only pay myself, but also, power isn't just how much I make. If I were to offer you a job, Brian, for let's say $25 million a year,
Okay.
For a contract for 10 years. So $250 million contract, $25 million a year for 10 years. That would give you an awful lot of power because you'd be able to pay for all kinds of stuff that a lot of other people wouldn't be able to pay for. So it would give you a lot of power. But maybe Maxine Waters and any other congressman or whatever would only have a very limited paycheck because that's just what is called for. But they get power through being able to promise policy to very rich people who then pay for super PACs and all this kind of stuff. So you end up moving around money that's not yours anyway. It doesn't come to you in the form of a check. It comes to you in the form of somebody else writing a check on your behalf simply by making promises. And this is their entire existence. They don't even understand capitalism. They've never been involved in it. And when you think of how many people have to live through this, you just have to thank our lucky stars every day that we have an actual businessman running this whole thing. And also, we're in a lot of peril too because, one day, what do we have, 6.5 years left? Right. Trump will be gone. He will no longer be our president. And we have no suitable replacement. I know 6.5 years is a long way away, but we should look for somebody other than Mark Cuban as a businessman to take over.
Lord, did you just say Mark Cuban?
Well, he's through, or Mark Zuckerberg. Somebody who's actually involved in the business world, who has an understanding on capitalism, who has an interest and an ability and the philosophy, the philosophical background to properly run as president and be successful like Donald Trump. There's just nobody else.
Yeah.
So what do you do after 8 years? So don't think we're out of the woods just because we have a President Trump. I mean, he's not going to be there for eternity, and that's something we need to really be concerned about. Now, maybe future will have a President Jim Jordan.
That would be super nice.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to be the Speaker of the House, that's a good thing. I don't remember. Does anybody know when the last time we had a president who was a former Speaker of the House? For some reason, I feel like a speaker position is not much of a prerequisite to becoming president. In fact, a lot of people are saying if you were ever in Congress, you really don't have much of a chance. It's more of like a governor of a state who seems to be a front runner as far as becoming a president. So I don't know. Maybe Mary Taylor, who lost her primary this past couple of months ago, throw her hat in the ring. Who knows? But she needs to win that big election before she can, go that route. She lost it to DeWine. Remember that one?
Oh yeah, like DeWine and Trump supported DeWine.
No,
not
Mary
DeWine.
Taylor.
Trump?
He is not supporting DeWine.
No, Trump came out for Taylor.
I don't know if he came out. I have to go back and revisit that. I can't remember if he was nowhere near as vocal about Mary Taylor as he was like Jim Renacci.
Right.
With Jim Renacci, it's like, hey, why don't you come on Air Force One with me for a couple of trips? And when I met Trump himself, the first things out of his mouth to me was, "Oh, you like Jim Renacci?" It was the first thing out of his mouth. So it was like, "Oh, okay." So obviously that's a massive. And also he tweeted more than once. I think it was 2 separate tweets specifically saying, "I wholeheartedly endorse Jim Renacci." So I don't think there was anything like that for Mary Taylor. But Mike DeWine is a rhino. We have nobody on the right that's going to represent us as a governor in Ohio once Kasich's down. Kasich, right. Classic rhino. But if DeWine wins, do not think that Ohio is in for any kind of major changes whatsoever. DeWine is just going to go right ahead. He's classic rhino. So it's a shame, but that's just the way it is. What do you got for us? I see you're in the works on something.
Yeah.
Did you get into the straw ban in California? Did you get into anything like that?
No.
Check your email real quick. I had a friend of ours who, by the way, is going to be at the Dinesh D'Souza premiere tomorrow in Cincinnati. She's a friend of mine on Twitter. And I was frantically running around looking for somebody to do a video like this because I do not have the technical capability of doing it. And she was the one that came through, and I didn't realize it at first because I'm following a lot of people on Twitter and talking to a lot of people on Twitter.
Right.
It's on I emailed it to you.
Oh.
I don't know if you get that, but it's a Twitter thing, which you can play that on. But anyway, she made this video, and I'm hoping that it goes viral.
Now, what's it all about?
Well, the straw ban. So you have.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, well, in California, apparently they're worried about plastic ending up in the ocean.
I saw that video, but I didn't get it.
Brian's been so up on all this other politics stuff, he didn't realize what happened in California.
You retweeted that.
Yeah, I had a buddy make that for me.
Oh my God, I couldn't.
And she's going to be at the premiere
now
tomorrow.
I know why, because I actually scoped about it. I said they're doing. Look what they're doing. They're going to throw the servers in jail.
Okay, so the servers. You're talking about restaurant servers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, what happened in I don't know what part of California. I don't think it's the whole state. I didn't get all the details on it. I just heard a lot about it because it's actually hilariously outrageous. I'm glad I'm not subject to this law because it's ridiculous. It's like we live in America anymore. But anyway, California, or a part of California, decided to ban plastic straws completely, made it totally criminal, and it has penalties that include jail time and massive fines. And this is for any restaurant that serves straws. Basically, you're not allowed to possess a plastic straw of any way, shape, or form.
Okay, at first it started out that if the server voluntarily gave a straw without the patron asking for it, he would be in trouble.
Okay.
Now you're saying that it's gone full board?
This is what I'm being told. I didn't read up on the law or anything like that, but a lot of people are talking about how it is definitely criminal to possess a plastic straw.
Don't be shocked by this. I mean, I did live in La La Land. They banned paper bags.
Oh, wow. Oh, I remember you talking about that.
And then
why would they ban paper bags?
Global warming.
Well, because you could use plastic bags, and apparently they felt that this was not global warming, but paper bags cut down trees. Which they saved the trees by banning paper bags. This is a long time ago. And so you're just required to use plastic bags.
And then plastic bags were all everywhere. They banned plastic bags.
Well, not only that, but plastic is a byproduct of crude oil when they're refining and everything. That's why plastic toys came of age during the early part of the 20th century. It's because plastic was this byproduct. And they're like, what are we going to do with all this? What can we do with all this? And all of a sudden, they started making everything out of plastic. Prior to oil becoming a big thing in the world, nothing was made out of plastic because it didn't exist for the most part.
Well, and something else, too, is that when you live in L.A., and the reason why they ban plastic bags, when you live in L.A., the place is covered in trash. There's trash on the streets. There's trash on the sidewalks. In the suburbs, in the cities, there's trash everywhere. There's trash. Why, Brian, is there trash? Why, Carrie, is there trash everywhere? Why? Because the government, the city of Los Angeles says, we'll provide street sweepers for everybody, everywhere.
Tell them a story about the guy that was dumping his ashtray.
That SOB, I was downtown. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was downtown L.A. I just got out the subway, and it was a cabbie sitting there, and I was just kind of walking around observing everything going on. The cabbie opened his door, took his ashtray, and dumped it in the street, like a mound of it. And it was a foreign. I mean, I don't know if he was. I don't know.
It didn't even matter, right?
He was an Indian. Maybe they do that in the Middle East. Maybe that's acceptable.
Oh, this is what you were thinking. You were thinking, he's of a culture where it's okay to dump a bunch of butts and ash over the street.
I said, hey. So what are you doing, man? He's like, oh, F you. I'll do what I want. F you. There you got street sweepers. You F you, F. I'm like.
So he was angry at you for calling him out because he was doing it because he knew the street sweeper was going to come and clean it up.
Yep, that's right.
Wow.
Right. So if you live in Los Angeles, you see plastic bags everywhere because that's all that people use. It looks like you're inundated with plastic bags, so you got to implement a ban.
Does this explain why people are open dumping their own feces in San Francisco?
They do in Los Angeles too. My wife and I, when we first got married, lived on 2nd Street in Long Beach, which is a nicer area. Mm-hmm. It real cleaned up. They got the gangs out and everything. Thank you to the LGBT community. They really cleaned it up.
Oh.
They were kind of racist and hateful towards black thugs and homeless people, but nobody need to talk about that.
Okay. Well,
but anyways, we had people that would take in the middle of the night that would get in between my truck and the apartment complex and dump right there.
Oh, so it's like that scene from Friday where the guy had to go in between two houses.
Yes, that was Los Angeles. That was South Central.
But he tried, though. He was banging on doors. Let me use the bathroom. And then the father came out and says, number 1 or number 2?
He said, number 2.
Number 2. Oh, nobody number 2 in my house. The only person number 2 in my house is me. And so he had to run. And
they might have added that in Friday as a play on. They knew that people were deucing in the streets.
Apparently, it was an issue even back then. But getting back to the story, they banned straws, and apparently there's. Oh, hold on! You got to stop, man. You got to stop.
It's Twitter.
It's already stopped.
It's Twitter. I can't do nothing.
Oh, so anyway, yeah. But before you play that. So they banned straws in California, San Francisco area, I believe, in the same area where everybody's taking dumps. You could go to jail for possessing a straw, but not for taking a dump. But it caused this hilarious rash of memes making fun of people taking away your straws, and in fact turned into a play on the banning of weapons and the attack on the Second Amendment, where people were likening taking straws away from people as...
Yeah, I couldn't believe that there was something out there in the news that was this
huge.
Big that I didn't know about. I know about it.
Like Laura Loomer was like tweet after tweet after tweet, like just totally making fun of it. A whole bunch of other people. And then finally I decided, well, if this is going to be a play on the Second Amendment, somebody should make a meme out of this video. And I gave it to a whole bunch of people saying, can somebody do this? And most people said no. And finally, it was Kathy. I think it was Kathy, our friend, who's going to be at the Dinesh D'Souza thing. She's going to drive in in Cincinnati to.
Where does she live? How far away does she live?
I think she said Ohio, but she's driving quite a ways to come see us. So we'll have to definitely thank her for that. Yeah.
Holy smoke! Well, sister, I will tell you this: you will get a free. Every family who buys a ticket will get one of these for free.
We have 81 tickets sold, and we have 58 of these or 59 of these.
These go to one per family.
So I can't,
one per family.
Just come early, people. Please come early, because that way, if you come late and we're out, I could say, I told everybody to come early. That's all I could say. Right. But anyway, she created this meme, and it's the Charlton Heston video.
I have only 5 words for you. From my cold, dead hands.
Oh, you gotta love that. From my cold, dead hands. Now, that's the classic. Everybody who's involved in defending our Second Amendment rights remembers Charlton Heston was I don't know if was he the actual president of the NRA at one time?
Yeah.
Okay, and then this was an NRA convention or meeting or something to that effect. And he held up his rifle and said, I got 5 words for you, from my cold, dead hands. Everybody cheered. And so I thought, if we're going to be comparing the ban of straws to the Second Amendment and the battle against the Second Amendment, we have got to add a bendy straw.
So follow Kathy. She's at Mustang Girl 3.
Mustang Girl 3.
Because I guess there's a Mustang Girl... Mustang Girl 1, Mustang Girl 2. And there must be something about
maybe she's been banned twice, and that's her
third.
I don't know. One. I'm just guessing. Right. But it is the number 3. The number 3. So.
Well, I'm excited. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy. That is so cool. I did see it. I shared it, and I liked it and retweeted it from your page, not knowing that was what was behind it. But for some reason, I felt like it needed to be done.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That is really super cool. And get out of this.
Man, you messed up on that.
Oh, wow. Thank God. I got Jackie mode.
Wow.
So as we're finishing up and wrapping up the whole thing about the Democrat Party, that's absolutely they're destroying themselves. Trump-backed candidates, DeSantis up 12 over Putnam in Florida GOP gubernatorial primary, according to Mason-Dixon poll.
Cool.
Mark Meadows, who you absolutely support, Mark Meadows, builds a national profile with trips to South Carolina, Iowa, support and supports Jim Jordan,
right?
Columbia on Friday evening, and has an upcoming trip planned to campaign with Rod Bloom. a Freedom Caucus member and strong conservative in Iowa.
If I ever become a congressman myself, which was only in my dreams probably, but if I were, I'd be in the Freedom Caucus like that.
Yep, no, absolutely.
It's my cup
100%.
of tea.
I did have things on the new explosive audio tape. You know what? Damn it. I'd have played anyways.
Play it anyway.
I'm mad about this because I'm going to explain something. I must explain something to you. This is Fox News, and is this it? Yeah, the tape. Let me just explain this away. And we'll play it, and then we'll talk about it.
Thank you very much. With his schedule dominated by talk of trade, tariffs, and economic storm clouds brewing both at home and abroad, President Trump waded into even more turbulent waters today.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away.
I need to open up a company for transfer of info of our friend David, so that, and Trump says, yeah. And then Cohen says, I'm going to do that right away.
A leaked recording of his private conversation with then-attorney Michael Cohen, occurring just 2 months before the 2016 election, that seems to be the two men apparently discussing paying for the rights to a Playboy model story about an alleged affair with then-private citizen Trump more than a decade ago.
That is by alleged insider people. There is no audio proof, paper proof. There's nothing. And I'm not defending Trump. I'm just saying there's nothing. And this is Fox News, folks. This is not CNN. This is Fox News jumping the shark, claiming that some other infidelity payout. They said, I need to open a corporation for our info on a friend David. Trump said, yeah.
Correct. So I'm all over that. And I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be, listen.
He says, and I spoke to Alan about it, and when it comes to the financing, which will be, Trump says, wait a second. What financing?
What financing? Well,
he says, Cohen says, I'll have to pay him something to set up the corporation.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
No.
And Trump says,
don't pay with cash. He said inaudible.
Yep.
I heard it. He said, don't pay with cash.
Fox News has bleeped it out and said inaudible. We can't reckon.
I heard it. I heard him say, don't pay with cash.
Right. And it says pay with cash. It doesn't say don't.
Inaudible, pay with cash. Yeah. That's fake news. I'm sorry, Fox News. That's fake.
Okay, now look at Cohen's answer. No. I got it. No. I got it. No cash. No, sir. No, I got it. No cash. No. I got it. No.
Okay.
No. I got it. No. Check.
The release.
And then Trump says check.
Okay. Well, to me, that's case closed. And besides, what are we talking about here? What is it that this audio is doing? Like, what is it proving? It
proves that Donald Trump talks to his lawyers about setting up corporations and making business deals daily.
Now, you understand this because you're kind of an expert on this whole setting up corporations thing. So to you, this is like totally recognizable language.
It's infuriating. Yeah, it's absolutely infuriating.
This is recognizable language to you, and you're infuriated because they are misinterpreting it either out of malice or ignorance, and you don't like that.
I think Fox News is definitely ignorant, and apparently I read somewhere where what is Disney buying out Fox News?
I don't know who's buying them out, but they're sold out. They're sold out.
Yeah, apparently Fox News is selling out anyways.
They put inaudible. When I actually heard the word don't pay in cash, don't pay in cash. It sounded like don't pay him in cash, and then in context, he said, no. And then Trump goes, check.
Right.
In context, he definitely said don't. Even if you're not 100% sure, put it in context. He said don't. I thought I heard him say don't. In context, he definitely said don't.
And the tape cuts off.
So
there's nothing more.
Okay, so this is what they're trying to do. They don't have anything illegal. There's no admission of anything illegal. What they're trying to do is imply possibility of something going on that might be illegal because we can bend this and twist this and trick you into thinking that he might have said pay cash. Why would he suggest to pay cash? Because if you pay cash and there won't be a paper trail and then we could hide something. So they're literally manufacturing from nothing a situation where Trump is trying to hide where payments are going, which we could report to you right now with 100% certainty that it was the opposite of that, which is he's trying to avoid the appearance of hiding something and making it very transparent, making sure there's a paper trail. So I think that this is fake news in order to drum up feelings of doubt and possible illegal activity or embarrassing activity or just trying to hide something that might be embarrassing. At the end of the day, though, why did this even start? How did we get to the point? Guys, you've got to follow down this path. You have to reverse engineer this. You have to reverse engineer this. This is critical to your freedom, your liberty, our Constitution. This is critical. Let's reverse engineer this. How did we get to a point where Cohen is leaking tapes or telling Trump's lawyer now, which is Giuliani, hey, we're about to leak tapes about which basically amount to attorney-client privilege. What are you going to do about it?
Well, not only that, but Trump was shocked. What attorney tapes his client and not tells him?
Right. So there's some questionable activity going on there. But what led to the point where an attorney could do this? It boils down to the FBI raiding his office. If the FBI never raided his office, he would have no legal justification to be able to say, hey, Trump, I know we had an attorney-client situation here, but I'm going to go ahead and sell you down the river and release all this private information about you.
How does the FBI get a green light warrant to raid the president of the United States' lawyer?
Well, either they have probable cause, which we now know. I mean, you never
know. We know they didn't.
We didn't know at first. We didn't know at first. We just know that they raided.
I can guess. That's just it's unheard of. It's unethical.
No, we know now. We know now. We just didn't know at the time.
I know, but I still think it's unethical to raid the sitting president of the United States' attorney's office.
I'll take it one step further. I think it's unconstitutional to raid the attorney of anybody suspected of any crimes attorney, because I think it's a clear violation of the Sixth Amendment. Yeah. And by the way, if it doesn't even, let's just say there's some way that we have probable cause against the attorney. First of all, it has to be directly against the attorney, because if it's against Trump, the Sixth Amendment would protect him from having his attorney raided. All right? But let's say it's directly against Cohen. If you don't have legit probable cause, or if you made it up and lied to the FISA court for the warrant, you're violating Cohen's Fourth Amendment rights. Now, even if you did all of that, to somehow use material that you found to leak about one of his clients is, again, a total violation of the Sixth Amendment. We have a constitutional crisis here, folks. If you find it entertaining to hear the inner workings of things that you were never meant to see, because the Sixth and the Fourth Amendment protect these people from us being able to see this, because they use this crazy route of the FBI breaking amendments and then turning around and just leaking. What kind of FBI does that? When in your entire life do you remember the FBI conducting themselves in a certain way and then deciding, you know what would make for some great programming?
Oh, this would be excellent. The media needs something to chew on.
Let's just start dumping this to our buddies at CNN. What is going on here? We have children running our government. We have children that are in charge of CNN.
Children in charge of CNN.
Yeah.
It's Stormy, Sloppy Daniels, Stormy Day, all day long. Fox News claimed that it was payoff for a Playboy model. It's somebody completely different than Stormy Daniels. And CNN, Chris Cuomo, says it's a payoff to Stormy Daniels. None of them get it straight. They're all claiming of this all day. And when it comes down to it, folks, when it comes down to it, there ain't no law that says you can't collude with a foreign government. There ain't no law that says you can't pay somebody something for services rendered.
Or to keep him quiet.
As a gift.
Or to keep him quiet.
You can absolutely set up a contract. Look, the Congress has done it. They have contracts set up to when a congressman or senator rapes a woman or a man, that you sign this document, and they have a slush fund.
It's socialized rape.
Right.
That's what it is. It's literally socialized sexual misconduct.
And you get paid.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you may be subject to this. You may be a woman or a man. It's possible that you end up getting sexually assaulted, and then the taxpayer will cut you a check to keep your mouth quiet.
Right.
Flat out.
So Aaron Klein from Breitbart News, I don't know how he got on MSNBC. I don't know how they allowed him to be on there, but he's on MSNBC, and there's a woman that's going off about Trump and the money and stuff, and Aaron Klein. I'm surprised they didn't pull a CNN and cut the cord. Check this out.
It's just such a distraction.
It's a distraction. Okay, Aaron, what's your take?
You know, this entire thing is just blowing smoke at an issue that the American public doesn't care about. The left suddenly is outraged that Donald Trump allegedly had consensual affairs in the past, really. The same left that basically glorifies the objectification of women in Hollywood. I mean, where were they during the Clinton years when we had serious accusations against Bill Clinton? I mean, we're talking about Juanita Broderick, who says that she was raped twice in a hotel room, and then Bill Clinton bit her lip, left her bleeding. We're talking about Kathleen Willey, who says that she was sexually assaulted. The media ignored it. Intimidated afterwards by the Clintons. The media ignored it. And we're also supposed to believe that the media suddenly cares about campaign finance law here, which, by the way, in this case wasn't even broken. What about the Clinton Foundation?
I'm shocked that they let him talk that long, and he wasn't speaking really fast or anything like that, and usually that gives them the opportunity to just cut him the hell off. So that's actually kind of funny that they let that through.
They let that roll. It was almost 1 full minute before they cut the cord, and he literally got it off his. And folks, Bill Clinton, I still think the impeachment thing was wrong, but that's the way they went with it. Republicans were idiots, but. Here's the thing. Bill Clinton did this in the White House, in the Oval Office. Bill Clinton did this while he was governor. Bill Clinton raped women on a regular basis, paid women out. They paid, what's her face? They paid her, what $150,000, $180,000? She said, I'd reserve, you keep your money, just give me an apology. He gave her the money anyways.
I almost feel like they were thinking, man, this is totally illegal. Let's just say this is just totally speculation on my part, but they're thinking, man, this could be illegal, and they get away with it, and then remember how they felt and how they felt the public might take it, that they were able to get away with it, and they see something that looks similar in their eye when Trump is doing, paying off or whatever, silencing or buying stories and squashing them or whatever it is that they're alleging. And they're like, oh my gosh, you remember how we thought this was illegal? Now Trump is doing it. Let's blow the whistle. And that's the only thing I can think of to explain it.
Because these Republicans are going to be triggered by sex.
Yeah, that's not going to work anymore. I mean,
Republicans, they think that those Christians, we got to separate Donald Trump from his Christian base.
Oh, it's just not working. And, I had my theory on that. I think I told the New Right Media. Was it New Right Media? New Right Media. That, one of the big questions in my interview with them was, how in the world does Trump still have evangelical support even after what we know now to be actual statements from Trump in Access Hollywood tapes and stuff like that? And I had explained to them all that the Christian faith, practicing Christians who are very serious about their faith, they really truly do believe and practice the idea of redemption and forgiveness when it comes to past bad behavior. They don't condemn you for eternity for bad behavior that you can apologize for, confess to, and
we're so out of time. Okay. Real quick, 30-second clip. The Republicans.
Are we still on Vimeo or?
Yeah, we're still on Vimeo.
Okay, good.
But Donald Trump.
You lost track of time.
I did. Donald Trump and GOP have dumped $1.2 million on an ad campaign attacking Democrats over Kavanaugh. Check out the ad.
President Trump has nominated another great judge for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh. He treats everyone fairly and has a record of applying the Constitution just as it was written. So Heidi Heitkamp has a decision to make. Does she support Kavanaugh and prove she's on the side of the president and you? Or does she side with the radical liberals in Washington, D.C.? Tell Heidi Heitkamp her decision on Kavanaugh is something you won't forget.
Sweet. Hey, actually call that number, people. Seriously, go back and pause it, and if you're not watching live, and call that number.
Oh man, the fast 3 hours.
No, they got extra time. Cat should not be upset.
No,
Cat can't be upset.
The fastest 3 hours and a few minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, sorry folks. See you guys tomorrow night.
All right.
Bye. Peace.